Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Slot 1 Super Podcast. We are here for episode 35, live now on YouTube and Twitch. You notice the lineup is a little bit different today. There's a certain somebody missing in action. We have our boy Minato is off doing something else, apparently more important than Golden Week. It's outrageous, but,
insane.
I of course
gotta take him out of the podcast. Okay,
he's gone today. He's gone today. So obviously I'm the Masked Ningen. I'm the main host for today. Directly to my right, moving over to the middle slot. It's like moving on an episode of like Hollywood Squares or something. We got our boy Dokkan Assets, aka Theo, in the middle. And then we have a special guest for this week as well to round out the three. And sometimes we have a special guest, of course, when we have Minato here as well. But since Minato was going to be gone, we thought we'd fill that slot on the right side of the screen. So we have our boy Raudokun here as well. So a lot of you guys regulars to the channel will know him. He is a Dokkan YouTuber as well. So we are all here to talk about Golden Week, which is kicked off today after lots of anticipation, lots of hype. I know everyone is very excited to dive into all of the topics. But before we start, just a quick reminder, of course, if you guys want to help support the podcast, if you have any questions, any shout outs, any of that kind of stuff, all donations and super chats are greatly appreciated and will be read out at the end of the episode in the final segment. So,
yes, sir.
Moving on to, I guess we're just going to jump straight in. Golden Week has begun. I guess really we should just go in straight away talking about the two big boys themselves.
The boys, baby.
The boys. So,
the boys.
We'll start off, of course, with AGL Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. So, I guess we can talk about, I guess it depends how you guys want to break it down, whether we want to talk about the units first or we could talk about the banners and our summons. Theo, I know you're a big Super Saiyan 3 fan, so I'll just pass it over to you and you can you can steer us in the beginning whichever way you want to go to start with.
Okay. Well, I guess since we'll talk about the banners first, just because that's kind of a both thing, and then we can kind of spread off into the other two, right? So obviously, right, these banners were really, really interesting. Of course, this being a dual Dokkan Fest as per usual, we expected there to be a little bit of, funny shenanigans when it came to two specific units on the banners, because obviously Global had just gotten what was JP's New Year's units, right? That being the Raudokun and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. It is so funny, I will say, on that topic too, of like, man, Global literally just got the new Super Saiyan 3 and then here we are.
Was it somebody said because they brought out because the Super Saiyan 3 Goku Super EZA, the AGL one, came out for Saiyan Day for both versions at the same time, so Global's gotten like 4 Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Well, if you want to count the EZA for the tech, the free-to-play one as well, Global's got 5 Super Saiyan 3 Gokus in the space of like a month or just over a month.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of awesome. I ain't even gonna hold you. I kind of love it. I'm a huge Super Saiyan 3 fan, so anything like that for me, I'm like, yeah, we're cooking. But anyway, so it is really interesting because obviously, right, when it comes down to it, we had the, whole thing in the community where everybody was like, oh, how are they going to handle those units? Because obviously they were just on Global. And lo and behold, a Global L turned into a Global W really quickly. Because obviously, right, when the banners are first shown and in the data download, we had the animated banner files actually in there, right? Because they add the PNG of the banner for when it's animated. And on the banner for Global, right, was Tech Trunks. And on the banner for JP was obviously Raudokun. And then for Global, right, they had Fizz Super Saiyan 2 Goku on Buu's banner, which, goes into Super Saiyan 3. And then, obviously, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, right, the STR one. So we were like, yikes! That is not a good banner change. I'm going to keep it real with you. That is not good. And as it turns out, it really didn't matter at the end of the day because the shenanigans were what was displayed on the banner. There we go. I was trying to figure out how to say that. Yeah. So indeed, Tech Trunks did replace Raudokun on Global, which I mean, I guess that's just like an undeniable L, unfortunately, because Tech Trunks. Yeah. We'd be slandering that man on the podcast every single time.
I pulled 5 copies of him, so like if I didn't have him already, I would have just rainbowed him just from this banner. So
that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So the weird thing was, right? Everybody thought because of those banner images, that Fizz Super Saiyan 2 Goku, right, that goes into Super Saiyan 3, was going to be the replacement unit for the STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku on Global. Now, the funny thing is, and they've never actually done this before, Android 21 was actually I'm burping right now, was actually the replacement unit, which people were really like, hey, Android 21, like, why would she not be the unit on the banner? Everybody who was, like clamoring about it. And they just didn't put her on the banner. I almost wonder if that's because obviously by this point they know that we can see the stuff. Like they know that we can see it. I wonder if it's because of that, and they were like, okay, we're gonna do a little bit of trolling, and they just decided to not put it on there. But the funny thing is too, I know I saw some people who unfortunately kind of ate their own words, but some people were like, well, Android 21 would never be on the global banner because Android 21 hasn't even returned yet to JP. And that certainly went right out the window.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I thought she could be on the banners like for both versions.
That's what I thought
too. She came out
at
the same time, right, on both versions, and it was in December, so it kind of makes sense. And then when she wasn't on that banner art, just like everybody else, I just assumed then that she wasn't going to be on the banners at all, because normally they put the newer units in that main image because they're the ones that kind of draw the attention to like
exactly
for you to
sell the banner.
So very strange that they would do that.
It's weird.
Yeah, very strange. But
I don't know. I'm not like, honestly, like, because obviously I play JP personally. Well, I do play both, but I main JP. Tech Trunks, like, you can keep him. Obviously, he's not even really a part of the conversation, right? Obviously, it would have been cool if Android 21 would have been on the banner also, because obviously, I mean, she's good, right? I also don't have her personally, so it would have been a good unit for me to pull, right? Like, it would have been cool if they would have replaced Fizz Super Saiyan, 3 Goku, even though obviously, he fits more for the theme. I guess obviously 21 fits the Buu banner theme because obviously it's Majin units, but I also don't have STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, so honestly for me I think it's fine either way. But I will say I do think that the banner is a lot better for the respective versions, again not counting Tech Trunks, for the Buu banner. I think that obviously because you just got the opportunity to summon for STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku and then obviously bringing 21 back, I think it was a great choice. In that regard, I will say, I think it'll be really interesting to see when are they going to bring 21 back on JP then, because obviously that like sets a weird thing, because I don't remember. It could have happened, but in my mind, I literally cannot remember a time where Global got a unit that returned first. I feel like it's happened before, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Chat, if you remember, feel free to tell us.
We've had units return on JP before, or even after like same time releases, and we've had weird things where like, wasn't it like Tech Trunks was on Android 21's banner on JP, and obviously he wasn't on the banner on Global because he hadn't even come out on Global. Right, he was already coming back for the first time on JP.
Sometimes those shenanigans happen, but for Global, like I don't think this specifically has ever happened before. I don't know, but that will be interesting to see how they handle that. Maybe 21 will just be on like another dual banner or something like that. Honestly, somebody in chat just said 21 comes back to JP when Rose releases.
I was about to mention that,
Yeah, that's a really good idea, honestly.
Yeah, because the other thing I was going to say is, because if they say they brought out like the next Dokkan Fest on JP after Golden Week and then she was on that banner, then she'd have to not be on that banner when that unit comes to global, or at least is less likely to be on there. So
which would be perfect for Rose, I guess,
strange.
right?
So yeah, that does make a lot of sense because it's a Dokkan Fest that we don't need to get now for global.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could be. I think people were guessing around that kind of the time of the year anyway, weren't they? So potentially Rose after Golden Week for JP could be a thing.
Definitely could be interesting.
So speaking about the banners, it's kind of the same kind of subject. So the big thing when it comes to banners is summons. So Raudo, I know you had a bit of an experience with the Goku banner. So why don't you tell us about how your summons went today?
It is unfortunate, a very sad day for a big fan of Super Saiyan 3 Goku. So, I got the tickets, was able, global W. But unfortunately, they did not help a lot. So I think I pulled multiple copies of like STR Buu and 23rd World Tournament Goku, but unfortunately he just did not want to show up for me. I'm 1,000 stones deep already. So.
Damn,
that's unfortunate.
How about Buu? Did you manage to get Buu?
Oh, Buu, yes. That one was pretty smooth.
That's good.
So I think I did 500 with the tickets. That wasn't very bad at all. So pretty painless.
Not too bad, yeah.
So I'll take that W.
Definitely better than 1K. That's terrible.
Yeah. What's funny is I think I pulled every single unit, like including the new side banner characters, except for Super Saiyan 3. Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah,
that's always terrible.
Yeah,
it's always because it's like you think about it and you're like, man, any one of these could have been Goku,
Dude, it's like
that's the worst part about it.
I got a ticket multi that was like Tech Trunks and Tech Ultimate Gohan, and it's like a 7-unit multi. It's like double featured, and it's like, man, I don't need either of these. I don't need either of these units. Like, this could have been 2 Gokus or just Goku and Gotenks, like straight up. But so Thea, how did your summons go? Did you get the shiny long hair boy?
Yeah, so actually, I ain't even gonna hold you. I cooked real hard. I know, funny enough, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was talking about like, yeah, man, my Dokkan luck hasn't been so good. It's been a little bit frustrating. Somebody in Akatsuki heard my prayers, apparently, because I went 1 rotation and I did not get him, and then I actually got Raudokun though, and I didn't have him yet, so that was cool. And then I only did like 100 more stones, so I ended on 250 for now. And I got him on that like extra multi on a Whis animation as well, which I have not seen in like, I think literal years maybe. So that was super hype, honestly, because it was so funny. It was like Piccolo and Whis flew in. And I was like, wait, Whis is by himself. Hold on, does that mean what I think it means? And so
hell yeah.
So that was very cool. Honestly, I was super excited. Because obviously that was a unit that Super Saiyan 3 Goku, like I've talked about on the podcast a million times. I love the boy so much, so I was very happy that I got him, and I haven't even summoned on Buu's banner yet. I haven't even touched it yet. I literally was like, I'm summoning for Goku until I get him. So
that's good.
I got him, and the plan is basically I'm just going to finish off the rotation, do that last multi, get the free one. And then after that, I'm going to do 1 rotation on Buu's banner. And then probably maybe call it there. I don't know. I might do like, 2 rotations just because, even though I know I clowned on him a lot, obviously I still want the STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Because, I don't have him either. So that would be cool to get. Dude, but yeah.
I will say that Super Saiyan 3, the STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I said when we were talking about him coming out on Global anyway, that issues with his animations and stuff aside that people have, that unit is just so good. He's so fun to use. I noticed it today when I was doing runs on other things and like, trying to show off Goku and then trying to do I did one of the red zone stages with his team and stuff. But you like the STR Goku next to this Goku, mine's like only got 1 dupe, and obviously he's level 10 links by now, the STR one, and he's dropping like 13 million attack stats next to this Goku, and he's got one dupe. Like, he's ridiculous. So
that's disgusting.
But yeah, I got quite lucky with my summons, I would say, overall. I did all the tickets for Goku, didn't get anything particularly good. I did get Buu off of the tickets, and then I did I think it was like the the actual discount stone rotation, I did get Goku. And then I did a bunch of other stuff. I got him awakened and all of that. And then after doing that, I went back and did another rotation and got another Goku, like basically straight away.
Nice.
Which was pretty good. And then, yeah, I did another rotation on the Buu banner, basically just to try and get Evil Buu. And I don't want to chase like the side banner units. So I did the extra rotation, didn't get Evil Buu. So I just decided to tap out at that point. I got my second dupe for 21, I think, off of the tickets as well. So all in all, I ended up with 2 Gokus, Buu. I ended up rainbowing Tech Trunks. And then, yeah, I got that extra. I did get a double Gotenks multi at some point. So I did get 2 copies of the new Gotenks. I haven't really tried him out yet. I've started link leveling the boys that's running at the moment on auto over here. So I'll be trying out that Gotenks. He seems like he could be quite good. So I know we'll talk about him in a little bit more detail in a minute. So yeah, I suppose overall then, aside from Raudo's Goku issue, at least we got, at least we all got some of the new units.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
So we'll start off talking about Goku a little bit.
Oh, hey, real quick, the banner, the difference thing. There was one more difference with the banners before we move on to the units.
Oh yeah.
With the discounts between the two.
Were they not on JP, which is...
Yeah, so I wanted to actually get your guys' opinion on this because I thought this would be an interesting like topic of discussion for the sync specifically. So it was funny because the only reason that I even realized this, right? Like I probably wouldn't have even like paid that much attention to it, but last night when I was summoning, you know, hopped in the VC with the boys and everybody was like, yeah, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, we're gonna summon. So we're all summoning together and they play global and I play JP. And we were just, you know, obviously everybody was screen sharing. We were looking at it, we were like, wait a minute, does global have discounts and JP doesn't? So obviously then we double checked and yes, that's the case, right? Obviously JP had the 3+1. But JP did not have the discounts that Global had. I mean, obviously, because, you know, JP doesn't get the discounts. But I think that that's really interesting because a lot of people were talking about when the sync was going to happen, right? A lot of people were like, oh, you know, how are they going to handle the discounts, right? Are they going to basically just, you know, like no longer give global discounts? Because obviously now they're with JP, so you know, obviously then you know, like it kind of wouldn't be fair if obviously JP got these, or Global got these discounts and then JP didn't, or you know, are they going to give discounts to JP maybe, right? Like will they switch it up and then do that? Obviously we really don't know, but this was really interesting of an instance because obviously, you know, this is the first time that something like this has happened, and this might even be just like an instance that's specifically for before the sync. But either way, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this because I thought it was really interesting, the fact that you know, obviously you know, one version got it and the other one didn't, and what that could mean for the sync in the future, because obviously, you know, who knows what will happen. I mean, this could be a specific circumstance because we aren't synced yet. But I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, Raudo, why don't you go for it first?
Yeah, so I was very surprised that I saw discounts happening since they don't do the discounts normally for Golden Week banners. So I'm in a seesaw situation where I'm thinking maybe Global just stays with the discounts because they're trying to appease more of the audience, trying to get them to consume more.
Give us more money.
Yeah, give us more money. But in another side of things, it will be pretty unfair for the JP player base to not get discounts at all, or maybe even the tickets, because that is like basically global side of things. But I don't know how JP's market will take that and like purchasing tickets, or maybe I feel like getting discounts will be beneficial for Japanese players so they can get more opportunities to just summon. But yeah, I'm thinking I see it as a little bit unfair. Of course, we global mains are like celebrating the W, but I feel like when it comes to the sync, they do have to make a decision whether either to remove discounts altogether, or and just match it up with JP, or just have JP get discounts and tickets, so they could have that situation together. But Yeah, it was pretty weird when I saw the discounts. So I was, what?
Yeah, that's the thing. When I saw the discounts, like I know there wasn't discounts last year for Golden Week because I think someone in one of the streams, like somebody asked me and I couldn't remember, and then someone went and checked, like I think it was Goresh's summon video from last year just to check, and they didn't have them. So when I saw them, when the banners appeared in the game, I just assumed that they would be on both versions at this, like as well. So I was quite surprised that they were on global only, because one of the things that we've talked about in the past is the things like the tickets that you actually purchase. There's potentially a reason why they don't have that on JP, to do with like the rules and laws and stuff that they have around like gacha spending and stuff. But the discounts, I mean, that's just a nice little like bonus treat thing that we get sometimes. So it seems really weird to like not give that to JP, especially when global also has like the options of the tickets and stuff. So I think maybe the only thing I can think of, I guess there's a couple of things. So the first thing, they're slightly different points, but the first thing is, I guess they could have done it for global specifically because they know that like with the current climate on global, a lot of people are in that mindset to save for the anniversary. So if the banner has discounts, then people might be more likely to summon on it than if it didn't. But I mean, that's still not a good reason why they couldn't just also give it to JP as well. But then, the other thing that's kind of a slightly different, like going in a different tangent, is I think that does give us this little bit of insight into their thought process. Like a lot of people say, as Theo said, that like, oh, when the games sync, we're going to lose all of this stuff that global gets that JP doesn't. Yeah. But I mean, this could potentially just be an example of, well, actually, no, we won't. Like global will still potentially get this extra stuff that JP doesn't get sometimes. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how they do apply that going forwards. But I mean, I'll take discount summons.
Oh yeah,
it does make it interesting for global because it's like with the anniversary in mind and everyone wanting to save. I mean, I would probably recommend doing the discount steps if you can spare like the odd.
Yeah,
like it's like 110 stones for 4 multis is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know for me as a JP player, like I feel like people would expect me to be like, oh, surely you're mad, right? Like, not really. I don't know. It's kind of the thing where like it just doesn't really bother me. I was talking to these guys about it before the podcast started, that it's kind of like, I'm basically in the accepted stage of grief by now that like, the version that I have chosen to play, obviously, does not have, the, all that funny shenanigans for the summons. Yeah. I think it's just, I'm used to it by now that it doesn't really bother me. Yeah. Obviously it would be better. I mean, I'd be buying the ticket packs every banner if, like I had them, if I had the opportunity to, but it's kind of like I made my choice and I'm fine with it. Cause obviously, it's just like, I've been doing it for so long. I would be curious to see, though. The one thing that I do want to know, and I don't know if we would even be able to. Obviously, we couldn't really find this on the fly. We'd have to like ask somebody about it. But I would be curious to see what the JP player base thinks about it. I may even like see if I could ask Goresh if he could like cook up a tweet for me or something like that in like Japanese to ask the JP player base how they feel about it, because I think it would be interesting to see like if Japanese players like, because obviously like it's one thing for the English speaking audience who plays JP, but I think it'd be interesting to see what the players who are actually in Japan think about it, because who knows, maybe they care a lot or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. I just think it'd be interesting to see. But anyway, let's move on and talk about the inside. I just wanted to make sure we got that in there because I thought it was interesting.
Gotcha. Well, so obviously we have Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Buu, the two main headliners. So we are mixed luck with the summons, but obviously we've those of us that have got them, I assume, have managed to get to use them at least a little bit at this point. I know everyone's been talking about them. I've seen a bunch of different clips and other people posting their opinions and stuff like that. So overall, I would say the units do seem like they are pretty well received. Definitely interesting. I think we went through this kind of thing that happens a lot with new units. We've talked about it before many times, where the units details came out on paper when they posted the tweets, and I feel like a lot of people massively underrated Goku. Because we'll start off talking about him. So Goku, I think he's pretty crazy. For the first couple of turns, he's basically invincible, which is really good. The only complaints I've really seen people make is, I mean, obviously for me, one of these was on my like 55% Link level 1 showcase. I mean, that's his bare minimum, right? But the only complaints I've really seen is about his attack stats when he's in slot 1. Because he's a unit that's similar to like the Blue Boys from the Worldwide Celebration, where you put him in slot 1, he gets a bunch of extra defense. So his attack stats are not anything like super impressive. But you put him in slot 2, he gets a bunch of extra attack and a guaranteed additional super. So then he's doing like, I had the one that had like 1 dupe that was on my team. I think the friend was already like Link leveled. And so then he's doing like 7, 8, 9 like million sort of attack stats with the fact that he has built-in crits. And of course, he still keeps that damage reduction, even though you might not have the guard if you're not putting him in slot 1. So yeah, overall, I think Goku is pretty good. Theo, I don't know how much you've gotten to use him, but let us know. I know you will talk to us about the animations as well, but what do you think about this guy in terms of how good he is?
Yeah, I mean, I have not really gotten a chance to use him too much yet. Funny enough, I pulled him, awakened him. I didn't even do my dailies yet because I was like, I'm saving literally all my stamina just to make sure I got him awakened right out the get-go for the day. And I awakened him and I was like, all right, that's enough Dokkan for today. So I have not gotten a chance to use him. Obviously, though, from like watching stuff and obviously hearing people talk about it, it seems like he is really, really good. I saw a tweet from Truth. I don't know how long it was ago today, but I know he was saying like Goku's number 4 under Beast and the EZA of Evo and MUI, which is like even crazy that like a TUR, could be in contention for that against those, big boy LR units. So, I think that's really cool. It makes me very happy as a Super Saiyan 3 fan that my boy can even be at the top. Obviously, in terms of the animations, man, I don't know, bro. I don't know what they've been feeding the boys at the Akatsuki offices lately, but they've been cooking, bro. I'm very, very impressed with these guys. I talked about it in, of course, those animation analysis videos that I do. I think that I'll talk about Buu's when we get to him, but I think both him and Buu have very, very good animations. I think they're super solid. Again, I think it's another thing similar to how the Ginyu Force was, where it is a very big case of like the animations are very, very cool and there's lots of cool stuff in them, but it is a big case of consistent quality, right? Like there's not anything that I look at when it comes to his animations and I'm like, ew, yucky. Everything in there is super crisp. It all looks really, really nice. Again, this was another instance where for Goku, I was really struggling to nitpick anything to like even see as like, oh, this is a little issue I have, or like, this is something that I think they could have done better. Again, another case of where I was really struggling to do that, which is always a good thing because then that means that they did a good job because there's nothing to complain about, right? So I think they did a very good job overall. I think the only thing, and again, funny enough, this is almost like the same with the Ginyu Force that we talked about. I think the main issue with them is what's not there. Because I know a lot of people were talking about it and a little bit disappointed by it, to be honest, that a lot of people really wanted more of the intro to be in there. Because obviously, that like whole transformation sequence is so iconic. And funny enough, they did actually put some of that in his active skill too, where, like the thing with the clouds, which is where he's actually in, like Super Saiyan 2 at that point, they included that in the Super Saiyan 3 animation. So it's so cool that they obviously, like incorporated it in some fashion. But I know especially people were disappointed, not just by the fact that more of, the transformation wasn't in there, but also the fact that the, this is to go even further beyond line was not in there, right? That's like almost the same, like, at least I think so. I don't know. I don't think people would disagree with this. It's almost like the same equivalent as like the, I will not let you destroy my world for God Goku, right? Like, I feel like those two, like, quotes are basically like on the same level. if anything.
Yeah,
So
it's like that quote is like synonymous with that character, like with that scene and everything. So yeah,
right.
It's odd to do a unit based around that and then not include it, I guess.
Right. And that's exactly what I was thinking. So I know a lot of people were a little disappointed with that. But I don't know. I still think obviously it's another case of it's like what we could have gotten is what would have been cool to be included, but what is there is fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they gave this guy, you know, some very solid representation. Because I mean, like, bro, especially after this year, I don't think we're gonna be getting another Super Saiyan 3 for a while.
Yeah, I think we've probably they probably milked the Super Saiyan 3 well dry at this point. So
yeah, we may be a little tapped. I'm not gonna hold you. Like literally, I think the only thing realistically at this point, what they could do is that, you know, I know we've talked about it a bunch of times on the podcast, like a Super Saiyan 3 duo unit type of thing, or, you know, obviously like if they do that Kakarot fight one, or just in general, even if they do something else where it's like, you know, some type of like Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta or something like that, right? But unless they do something like that, obviously excluding Dragon Ball Heroes, because Heroes I don't think really like, you know, applies to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting another Super Saiyan 3 Goku for a while. And obviously it's pretty clear that like this is supposed to be the Super Saiyan 3 Goku that, you know, like represents the, you know, big moment of Goku first transforming into Super Saiyan 3. So I'm glad that they did him justice. I think they did a very good job. Also, just like with the Ginyu Force, they also crammed in a bunch of really cool references to like promo art, and obviously I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the card art and stuff like that. You know, where it's, you know, supposed to be that one piece of promo art, but even for like some of the stuff that's in there, you know, there's even little references to different pieces of art and stuff. So that's always pretty cool. You know, obviously being somebody who really likes that type of thing, you know, I always think that that's pretty interesting when they, you know, actually decide to, you know, throw a bunch of that in. And not to mention, I think it's just a great way to make these animations more unique, because obviously, you know, when you've been doing this for so long, and not to mention even just this year, you know, we've already got how many Super Saiyan 3 Gokus, like we literally just said, right? You know, at some point, they're going to run out of animations to do, you know. At some point, they're going to basically be tapped on, you know, like what's left to be able to cover when it comes to this stuff. And so even just using like those pieces of promo art and then turning them into, you know, like a more coherent animation, I think is a great idea for being able to get more, you know, out of a certain transformation or a character. And hey, you know, I think that just means good things for the future. Even if your character has 1 million units in the game, they still have a good chance of getting something new.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, so Goku, I'm satisfied. I'm very excited to use him. Raudokun, what do you think?
So yeah, I wasn't able to get him, as I mentioned earlier. But,
yeah, from showcases and stuff.
Yeah, from what I've seen, he is really, really good. I feel like the people will take advantage of what his start of turn can do, where he just gets that 90% damage reduction. That is very solid. But now, since, you know, we're going to start getting these longer style fights, people might see that as a diminishing issue. But I don't think that's going to be a problem with him at all. It's the same thing with the attack stats, right? I feel like this is the same scenario with the Blue Boys from the Worldwide Download Celebration. They're gonna get, he's gonna get heavily underestimated from the beginning of things, and then people are gonna start seeing the value, I guess, on Goku's side of things. Even though he's not as damaging at the beginning of things, he has been able to, for what I've seen, done a lot of like humongous attack stats. Overall, very content, very happy. In terms of the animations as well, maybe, I don't know, we got Sparking Zero too. I don't know.
That's true.
They can show some stuff. Yeah. So they can give us some few seconds. I don't know how long they plan to like make intro animations for these characters. I know there's probably like 10, 15 seconds because it takes too long. Yeah. I think, I don't know, Frieza might be the longest. I don't know. But in that regard, like they totally have more resources, so they can do more animations. Super Saiyan 3 Gokus are not enough, so we need more.
Amen.
But yeah, see, I think he's super good. He's super fun. I think, like I said, people will underestimate how good he can be after the first couple of turns. But you have to remember as well, like, they're two separate parts of his passive, but I made a tweet about this when we first got the details for him, is he builds up that 5% damage reduction per super attack performed, but he builds that up right from the start, and that goes along with what he's already got. So on turn 1, he has 90% damage reduction. As soon as he gets his first super attack off, it means if he then gets hit after that, he's got 95%. But because he has a built-in chance to additional, and he's AGL, so even at 55%, he has additional in the hidden potential, he can super attack 3 times in one turn. So I did a run earlier where the Goku that was on turn 1 super attacked 3 times on turn 1. So then on turn 2, well, it's technically turn 3, but his second turn, he's lost the first like 30% chunk of his damage reduction from the first part of his passive. So he's got 60%, but he super attacked 3 times on the previous turn. So he's actually got 75%. So he's still got a very significant, like, high number. And then when you get to the turn after that, you've dropped down to 30% from his passive, and by then you've supered anywhere between like 2 and 6 times, which means he can still have anywhere around sort of like 45, 50, 55% damage reduction. And then on turn 5, he uses active skill, so then he gets his on super defense bonus. So then in slot 1, he's still rocking around like 350k defense with like 60% damage reduction still, if you fully maxed it out. So for those first few turns, like, he really isn't taking huge damage. I had him, I think it was turn 5. It's a video I recorded earlier that will be out tomorrow, but like, he double digit tanks physical fusions of Masu super attack, and it's like on turn 5. And obviously that is a super that can hit for, you know, there's a bunch of units in the game that take well over like 1.5 million damage from that. And yeah, he just takes double digits. On turn 5. Right. So that's the thing. A lot of people knew he was really good on turn 1, but I saw people like, when the details came out, literally saying like after turn 1 he's just going to get destroyed, and it's like, no, in practice that's not how that goes at all. So yeah, definitely very happy with him. Obviously, as I've said before, Theo and I've talked about it loads, I'm a big Super Saiyan 3 fan too, so very happy with this. So Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then of course we have our boy Fat Buu. So it's funny because I saw a lot of people saying that, like, oh no, not Fat Buu, like Majin Vegito would be way more hype or whatever, and it's like, I mean, I kind of agree that it would be a more popular choice for it, like, to do a Goku and Majin Vegeta dual Dokkan Fest, but Fat Buu absolutely deserves a Dokkan Fest exclusive. He's the first version of Buu that appears in the show that we get to see, right? And he doesn't have a Dokkan Fest exclusive, so I think it made a lot of sense. But yeah, I'll let Raudo talk about him first, since you did actually get him. But yeah, I think he's pretty good. Raudo, what are your thoughts on the Int Fat Buu?
Yeah, so he is very valuable. I read his details about the revive and everything like that. I didn't see a condition for him, so he works kind of like Metal Cooler in a way. So as soon as he enters the field, he has the revive available for him. So if in any case, I did a recording session when I was attempting the new Redstone stages, topic for later. He got immediately killed, and that was very resourceful because he can get the substantial buff that he gets. He gets the additional attack and defense, so it's very helpful. It's the same thing with some of the new units, right? Like the ECAs for MUI and Evo, Blue Vegeta, and the 23rd World Tournament Goku, where they get their buffs immediately. He looks to me like, I love Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but I see him a little bit above Super Saiyan 3 Goku in terms of performance, right? Okay. He gets his guard guaranteed after the revive. He heals. Dude, the healing is just so good. Yeah. Especially with these like Majin Buu units with their links with Metamorphosis. That's just clean, just a perfect composition. And the beauty of it, just more to the defensive builds, because he stacks defense. That is a pretty good addition to him, to his kit and everything. So overall, I used him a lot, and I love him. He looks to be like a solid extreme character that we wanted.
W. Yeah, he's definitely that. They definitely learned their lesson, I think, with and we should hopefully see this more going forward, right? With these revival abilities, because when a character is the leader of the team, so you're running double leads, it's like the exact thing that was the problem with Tech Carnival Goku when he came out. Is it's like, well, one of your guys revives, and so then the other one gets like screwed out of their extra passive bonus. So obviously this Buu has the when he or anyone else revives. So it's kind of funny because, like Rado said, essentially, like there isn't really any real reason apart from having a safety later in the fight, I guess. But there isn't really any real reason not to just try and get him killed like immediately, get the revival, and then they both just get supercharged. And then, yeah, they have guaranteed guard, all those extra stats. They infinitely stack defense. So yeah, they can. I think the thing is they start off low, which I think is what people didn't expect. I'm trying to remember which event it was I went into, but I think it was like Metal Cooler Core, and this was doing the 55% level 1 links showcase, so obviously at his bare minimum. But put him in slot 1, turn 1, and a super from the Metal Cooler Core was like 250k or something. But what's funny is like that's not enough to kill him in one go. And as Raudo mentioned, like the amount of healing that team has, like you can get fairly low on HP and then basically be back at like full HP on the next turn, which is crazy. So yeah, the amount of healing is ridiculous. That's one of the things I think is really good again about Buu is he can survive taking these hits and then just heal you loads. I also really like the introduction. I think he is the first character to have it. He has the survive KO attacks mechanic and then has the revival. So there are going to be some turns, it'll be quite situational, but there will be some turns where that can come in clutch. And like, yeah, he'll survive a KO attack and you'll not get attacked again. And then you like finish off the turn and get a load of healing. Or he'll survive a KO attack and then he's getting hit again. So then he just revives and you don't die. Because that's the biggest problem with those survive KO attack mechanics is the unit gets left on 1 HP. So if they get supered as like the second attack or something, but they've still got one more attack to take, then, you know, the minimum you can take in Dokkan, even if you have 100% damage reduction, you still take double-digit damage. So then you die because you're on 1 HP. Whereas this guy survives the big attack, then dies to like the next one, and then you revive with full health. Which also has a really good interaction with, I was using the STR Super Buu, because he's a bit old now, right? He EZA'd like the 8th anniversary, I think. But that has really good synergy. If you can get the turn thing just right, Buu revives you with full health. So then on the next turn, if it's the turn where STR Super Buu is going to transform, you get that Buhan transformation, the one that you want, because you're on full health. So that works really nicely. But yeah, I think he's good. Theo, I know you haven't had a chance to summon for him yet. You can tell us a little bit about what you think in terms of what you've seen from his performance, but then obviously tell us about his animations a bit as well. I know you touched on them briefly with Goku, but yeah, what do you think of Fat Buu?
He seems pretty good. I'm glad that obviously I know, like was mentioned previously, it seems like they're hopefully trying to take these villain characters a little bit more seriously. Because obviously it definitely seems like that they need it. You know, considering like I think it's also well, I guess to be fair, we're probably going to talk about it a little bit later. Actually, I don't know if we even have it on the list, but oh no, we do have it on the list, but we'll talk about this like in detail later. But obviously, I think him coming out and then obviously having Buhan also get the EZA early, right? Not to mention again, we'll talk about the other EZA, but another Majin EZA coming out later, right? Yep. I think they really kind of did a really like cool thing by basically just essentially bringing the whole team back. Basically, like the boys are literally back, right? And not to mention 21 is also on the banner, right? Yep. So you have these 3 solid units, or well, 4 solid units, right? I was trying to quantify it in my head, plus 21. So you have all of them, right? And I don't know. I think they did a very good job with them, right? They did a very good job. You know, I think also since he is pretty defensive, I swear unless I'm misremembering, there's not really a Majin Buu in the game that was like hyper defensive, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, really.
I don't think so, really. And that was really cool to see because obviously, right, like Buu is obviously a very like, as much as he's obviously throwing hands 24/7, especially, like Good Buu, Mr. Buu, he is very defensive because obviously the whole thing is that he uses his, big pudgy body to be able to like tank attacks and stuff like that, right? So it's cool that they actually gave us a, a defensive like Buu. It kind of reminds me of Broly almost, but obviously Broly's like, even like more so because obviously he like took more damage quite frequently, but Broly's like an absolute beast of a tank, especially in the first movie. So it was weird that they kind of did him like that. And honestly, I feel like Buu kind of falls under the same category to a lesser extent though, because obviously Buu wasn't like, they didn't make him specifically take more damage or anything. But either way though, I thought that was really cool. I think they did a very good job with this kit. I'm excited to use him. I actually do want to pull him. In terms of the animations, I think that they did a very, very good job with Buu. This is another character that they'll definitely like. We will not be getting another Mr. Buu for like a fat minute, right? It'll be a long time before we get another one. So I'm glad that they, did a bunch of stuff for him. I'm glad that they gave him some good representation. I know this. I don't know if this is a hot take. I mean, I think both of their animations are fantastic, to be honest with you. But I actually think Buu's might be better than Goku's overall, which I know is crazy to say, especially being Mr. Super Saiyan 3. Again, don't get me wrong. I love them both. I think they cooked with both of them. But I think Buu's might even be a little bit better than Goku's just because they had even less things that I was like, this little thing or this little thing, right? I think they're just overall even better than Goku's, right? And again, another thing, I know I sound like a broken record, but that's a good thing because that means they're doing a good job. It's that consistency, right, with the animations. All of these animations that we've been seeing from both of these guys have both been extremely good for everything that they have on display. And I think it also helps with Buu because a lot of his animations are very simple, but it's also because a lot of Buu's attacks are very like simple and just like kind of goofy, right? Because obviously like, even like if you are thinking about it from the perspective of the anime, like Goku is like a seasoned veteran fighter, right? He's using these complicated techniques and moves, and Boo's just kind of throwing himself around and, kind of do whatever he wants, right? And so I think that obviously this card really encapsulates that. And not to mention, especially with the animations for this guy, and the OSTs as well. I think they did a very good job of capturing, I'm going to say
the active skill
OST is funny, man. It's like, I think they did such a good job of encapsulating Buu's like goofy side and also his menacing side with this unit, right? With, obviously the introduction being him popping out of the egg, which was pretty cool. And then of course, like the active skill is the goofy OST and him eating the cookie, right? Which is obviously very silly. You literally see him like chew it and then just give a big old smile. It's so funny, man. But then of course, like the super attack and the counter, is a lot more menacing and obviously a lot more like intimidating type of thing. So it's cool that they kind of got like all the sides of the character nailed down because again, it feels a lot more of like a true representation for, good Buu, good Buu, even though bro is
extreme,
killing people all the time, good Buu, obviously, right? I think it's cool that they got all of that into one unit. I really, really like that a lot. And not to mention, I think especially the one animation that was really like, stood out to me quite a bit. I think they were, like I said, they were all very good, but the revival with the goo animation, dude, it's so disgusting, but in a good way.
Because it's so clean.
It's so clean, man. It's like you look at it and your like skin crawls because of how like disgusting it looks. But that's good. That's the purpose that they're trying to like have be accomplished there. So I think they did a very good job on him. I'm glad that they did such a good job. It is kind of funny, I will say. This is just something to point out. I don't think that there's really any problem with it. But funny enough, they use the same Buu, like the exact same one, the voice line for when he literally just says "Boo!" like that. They use the same one for both of the animations. And like, I don't know. That was like the one time, because I'm always like, I don't like it when they reuse stuff, because obviously I'd rather them do something original. But like, bro, what do you not. He just says Buu in both scenes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was a little bit funnier to me that it's like literally the same file in there. It's not even like there's two files of him saying Buu. It's the same MP3 of him saying Buu. But either way, though, yeah, I think they did a very good job. I will say too, on that topic of the Majin Vegeta and Goku thing, I do think that obviously, right? Like, I don't think there's any doubting that, you know, like Majin Vegeta would have been a more hype choice for, you know, having the celebration be that. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's like, for one, people have been wanting like I remember even talks like 2 or 3 years ago, people being like, yeah, we should get a good Buu and a Super Saiyan 3 Goku dual Dokkan Fest.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, it would be really cool. Not to mention, obviously, we then get this Goku that we got. And again, Mr. Buu had like, you know, still really no units. And not to mention, it's a super iconic fight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, when it comes to the Buu saga, I think basically, like, at least I know for me, the 3 fights, well, I guess maybe Ultimate Gohan would be in there too, but the 3 fights really that come to mind for me is this one, right, with Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Buu, Majin Vegeta and Goku, and then Super Vegito and Buhan, right?
Yeah.
Like, those really, you know, are the main ones. I guess, you know, then like Ultimate Gohan and maybe like Gotenks and Super Buu and like the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, but like, I don't know. I know for me, it's like one of the biggest moments. So I think honestly, it's good that they picked him. Because obviously, you know, it's just like, it's a character that deserves the representation. Like you said, he is the first form of Majin Buu that you see. And not to mention, he is also the form of Buu that you then subsequently see the most, because obviously then he becomes an ally, you know, as Hercule like pacifies him basically. And of course you see him later. So I don't know. I think he was a really good choice. And not to mention, like, it would have been, I mean, I guess they probably wouldn't have done it this way, but it would have been really weird if it would have been Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Majin Vegeta. I feel like it's a little bit different last time because obviously they both transformed.
Yeah.
You know, so like I feel like that's a little bit of a different case. But you know, with that being said, right, I don't know. I think that this was probably like the best route that they could have gone. And not to mention, I do think that this was honestly pretty perfect for Golden Week specifically as well. I think picking it for that was also a very good one. I mean, besides the fact of like, you know, golden hair, Golden Week, haha, funny on that regard, right? You know, I don't know. I think these are like perfect characters, right? As much as I would have loved Goku to be an LR, right? Because obviously I think that would be amazing if this moment was an LR. I don't know. I think especially for like having him be paired with Buu, I think having them both be the TUR Dual Dokkan Fest was just perfect. So, and hey,
I agree.
I still have a chance to get that LR Super Saiyan 3 with the Janemba movie one. So we're eating as far as I'm concerned.
So these guys definitely both very, very good, very fun to use. Hopefully you guys out there have pulled them if you've done your summons, or you do pull them if you have not done your summons yet, and can experience them yourselves. But of course, the other new units that we had on the banner that we can talk about very briefly, because I know, like I say, I haven't pulled Evil Buu. I've not really properly tested out Gotenks, but we do have the side banner units. So we have Evil Buu and base Gotenks, which I think the Gotenks was definitely a surprise to a lot of people. I put the extra art in here because we all love the Tech Evil Buu SSR art. But yeah,
he's goofy, bro.
He's pretty good. But yeah, like in terms of on paper, they seemed like they could be decent. I did see a lot of people. I know people aren't really posting like early showcases on YouTube anymore, but I saw some people after having tried them on the private server saying that like both of them are good. I saw mixed things, right? I've seen some people say that like Evil Buu is super underrated, and then I've seen other people say that he's not very good. So it's an interesting one. But since we obviously none of us have really had a great opportunity to try out the units ourselves, I thought we'd just bring them up. And what do you guys think about like them as the choices for the banner units? Because I think Evil Buu was a good choice because like with 21, it's kind of good sometimes with these rarer units, or I say rarer, but units that have very specific kinds of link sets. like Buu units. It makes sense for like the side banner unit to be a different version of Buu, so he's got like a good link partner. The Gotenks one did surprise me because obviously that comes from quite a bit later in the arc. I mean, so does the Evil Buu, to be fair. But I certainly wasn't expecting another base Gotenks, especially after both versions got the int Gotenks EZA. So yeah, Raudo, what do you think about the Evil Buu choice? And then I'll throw Gotenks over to you, Theo. I mean, you can both obviously mention both, to be fair, but
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be the perfect choice. I wouldn't have seen them throw out like a Babidi card, considering that we have the LR Babidi. But yeah, I feel like that was a proper choice. We got, I guess, his representation sort of on just the card art for the Exchange Buu. We technically don't get to see a pure Evil Buu. I think the last one that we had was the SDR one.
Yeah, he's like
really old
yeah.
one.
No, ancient one, yeah.
So we haven't had like a proper representation of an actual pure Evil Buu in the game yet. So very, very happy that they made this choice. I don't think that they would have chosen like anybody else that I would not accept it, but
yeah,
I feel like this was perfect.
Yeah, because all the other options were such random stuff. Like, because I did a video speculating about it as well, and it's like you got like Babidi, Dabura, like the other Babidi minions, and then that's kind of it, right? If it's not like another Buu. So, and then all of those have the issues with like the weird links and stuff like that. Because a side banner unit should always be a unit that works well with the unit that they've come out with or with their team, right? So but yeah, that's why it was interesting, because that base Gotenks, I don't know if there's any other base Gotenks in the game that has it, but he has Over in a Flash, which is interesting because if he didn't have it, he wouldn't have any key links with Goku, because Gotenks normally has either Prepared for Battle or Shocking Speed, and then obviously has Fused Fighter, but Goku has Over in a Flash. But this base Gotenks actually has Over in a Flash, so he obviously does work decently well with the Goku. But yeah, Theo, what did you think about the banner unit choices?
Evil Buu, very, very good choice. I mean, I think it makes complete sense, right? Just like Rondo said, like, you know, obviously we haven't had representation for the boy basically since even just like the cameo in the tech one, essentially, and that ancient SDR one. So that was really cool to see. I think that obviously, you know, like you said, it's great that they picked him because it's a Buu unit that since we didn't have yet, obviously that's another character that's not going to be sharing the same name with a bunch of the other Buus on the team. And I think it's the perfect unit to round it out, because now, you know, we have like this Buu, right? Which is, you know, like Mr. Buu, or good Buu, right? We have, you know, Buhan and Buu tanks, right? With the EZA, right? We have the transforming Buu. We have the STR transforming Super Buu, right? We have AGL LR Super Buu, right? And now we have this guy. So I think it's cool that it's like, you know, and I guess it also just does help that Buu has so many darn forms that, you know, like you can really make a good, like, you know, team of all the different characters like that. Because obviously, you know, since they all have the different names and stuff like that, you're just able to make a bunch more units for the team. So I think he was a perfect choice, honestly. And it seems like he will kind of be like a pretty invaluable character, honestly, from everything that I've seen about him. Also, the essays for both of them, I'll mention, I'm not going to go too much in detail, but they're both really good. I was actually shocked that the side banner units were this good, because I swear they're either hit or miss. It's like, yeah, they literally don't care, or they like make them really good for a side banner character. So I was actually pretty impressed with the look of both of these. And I thought it was cool that this guy had a counter, because I do not remember the last time that a side banner unit had a counter to his name. So
it's very rare that the side banner units get any of the like extra special animation, like sort of mechanics, right? Because there was the Vegito from Battle of Gods for saying they last year that had the transformation,
which was crazy, dude. I remember when that came out, I was like, what? I was flabbergasted, bro, because that's like, it's such a you know, it's such like a rarity that like characters like that get those extra stuff. But yeah, so I thought that was cool. Gotenks, I'm gonna be honest, like, you know, I like Gotenks. I don't have a problem with the character or anything like that, but I really didn't think it was a great choice, to be honest with you. First of all, I don't know, what is their obsession with base form Gotenks? Like, I swear, they love base form Gotenks specifically, right? Like, obviously the other forms of Gotenks are represented in some form in the game, but it's so weird to me that like they always just love giving us base form Gotenks, like whether it's a bunch of free-to-play characters or whether it's a bunch of side banner characters or, you know, like, you know, whatever, like, you know, summonable unit from years ago. It seems like that they really like this guy for some reason. I don't know if someone at Akatsuki's just a fan or like, you know, what's the case, but kind of weird.
It's funny, you got me thinking actually, and with this guy releasing, we now have a base form Gotenks like you are of every typing. Because there's a free to play tech one. The int one is the Dokkan Fest, and then there's those side banner units. There's the AGL one and the STR one. So then there's this guy who's brand new, who's physical. So yeah, we have base Gotenks is for all types.
That is weird. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and not to mention, like you said, they just had the EZA for the int one. So like, why nobody's gonna be using this guy? You know what I mean? Like, maybe besides Annie. Shout out to Annie, of course.
I suppose the only good thing is the int one is only base form for one turn, and then
I guess that is true. That is very true. Yeah. But like, I don't know. It just feels like such a strange choice. Not to mention, like you said, there's a bunch of them. I mean, bro, you could literally, you know, those missions you have to run, the rainbow type missions. You could do that with Gotenks.
Full Gotenks team, yeah.
That's so funny.
We'll go team.
Yeah, dude, that'd be fire, low-key. That's a good video for you.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll have to give it a try.
For real. But either way, though, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could have just picked another character, and it would have been better. Even, like, I don't know, like, having it be another form of Gotenks, I feel like would have even been better than, you know, like, just having them be base. In terms of another character, though, I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to see what they would have picked, right? Like, I'm really not sure what avenue they would have went down necessarily, because like a lot of the like quote unquote side characters from the Buu saga are like fairly represented, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's definitely some stuff that they could have done. But maybe it wouldn't have been as close to Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But then again, you know, like you were talking about, Gotenks is from a lot later than that scene. So I don't know. I think it would have been more beneficial for the game and, you know, like for the team and everything to have it be a different character. Honestly, I kind of would have wanted it to be like, I don't know. Maybe I would have picked like Piccolo or something, but I guess he doesn't really fight in the Buu saga. He's just kind of the instructor. I was thinking TN, but we had the Fizz one. But
I was thinking it would be like a Super Saiyan Great Saiyan Man or something, maybe.
Oh, that would, dude.
Yeah, it's like maybe that's why they fumbled the EZA for the physical one, because they knew they had the banner unit one coming out or something.
I'm not gonna lie though. I really want that. Like, I think that would be a cool Dokkan Fest, actually, for it to be like a like the Super Saiyan Green Fit Great Saiyan Man, right? Where like when he watches Videl get beat down, and then you know, like maybe it would go into like, because you know, then later when he's fighting Deborah, he has the full black.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he could have the costume change thing, because they've rarely done that with characters after they did the AGL Goku Vegeta. So something like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool Dokkan Fest. That'd be like a good like monthly Dokkan Fest, I think. I don't know if I would put that as like a, you know,
filler one.
Yeah, unless it was against Deborah, but like, you know,
I don't feel like, because I saw people mention that as a like potential dual Dokkan Fest that Golden Week could be. But yeah, I feel like it's just not hype enough of a choice, especially because even from the show, I remember like, as someone who like, I always liked Gohan, there's always that meme, right, about how like everyone thought Gohan was going to be the next, like, you know, he was going to be the protagonist after the Cell Saga, and then he kind of fell off. And I even remember like, even watching it as a kid, I remember being super disappointed that like, obviously Goku and Vegeta just completely put the hands on Pui Pui and Yakon, and then Gohan just kind of sucks a little bit, like when he's trying to fight Deborah, and I just remember being really disappointed. So like, for me, that would not really be like a super hype dual Dokkan Fest. Like, it would be cool to get a good new Gohan unit, and I think the Saiyan Man fit, but then with the like Super Saiyan and everything is really cool. But yeah, that was the only other thing I could really think of, other than it being, like we said, with the way Buu is, it could have been like another Goku but like a different form, like just the straight up Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku or something. Or even Vegeta, because we know that sometimes they will mix and match the typings, right? Because 21 was Super and then Evil 21 is Extreme. So like Goku could have had like Majin Vegeta as a banner unit.
That's true.
Because then they share a ton of links. They both have Over in a Flash, Super Saiyan, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Gotenks, he seems pretty good. At least he does have the Over in a Flash, so he does work well with the Goku, which, as I said, is kind of the main thing that we want to see from these banner units. So that is pretty good. So we got some new units. We got some other new units that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the other thing that we got, the main big thing that we got that was new, which I know, especially for Global, we've been waiting for a long, long time, because we've been trapped in this purgatory that is Merge Zamasu and Omega Shenron. And that is the first 2 stages of the Majin Buu Saga Red Zone. So the first stage is versus Barbady's forces, and the second phase is, or second stage I should say, is versus Super Buu. Missions right from the jump for the first stage, which is cool, because it means they did the thing that they've done where they've added missions at a later date, where the first stage has infinite attempts, it has a bunch of missions. It also had some interesting mechanics, which I don't think we've seen. They're not like anything crazy brand new, but stuff like enemies getting extra attack and defense per turn. I think one of them is Yamu makes you lose 10% HP at the start of the turn. Turn starts, you lose 10% HP. Cool. Got some interesting things. So we've got 2 stages so far. Raudo, have you beaten both of the stages? What did you think of them?
So for now, I've tackled the first one, which is the Babidi's forces. I was in shock to seeing the actual screen just go in full red. It's like, oh, you're losing HP right away. It's like, what? What is this?
Yep.
So yeah, Yamu has that little effect there where you lose 10% HP per turn. The quirk is just to take him out as quickly as possible. But I was surprised, even at the start of the fight, you're just taking damage, but not besides the fact that you're taking 10% HP. Oh, look at him. Look at him. He's so good. But you're also, like, these guys hit hard. I was very surprised that even at the start of things, you're just taking damage immediately. I was also surprised. I think the Bora, I don't know their stats. I haven't seen them yet, but the Bora does a lot of damage. I've seen, I think I took the Majin Buu team over to that event, and I think Buu or somebody else took like 250k, I think, from a super.
Yeah, Deborah can stun as well, I think, can't he? So
that was also surprising too. Yeah, so you gotta be careful with that. Yep. But yeah, and the fact that the missions too, the missions that you that use characters with like 5 or more int type characters, knowing that the last phase is physical, that is that one is a doozy. A lot of people are gonna possibly struggle with that one, but overall, super happy that we got some different fights, different style of fights, instead of the same old Fusion Zamasu meta that we just got stuck on for like 7 months.
Oh my god, it's been brutal.
Yeah. And then we also got Super Buu. I haven't attempted him yet, but I've seen his stats. The fact that you're able to, like, if you don't take him out fast, he's gonna stack attack. I think it's 6% attack per turn. So it's possible that he can do a lot of damage. I think he does like 1.4 million on his super attack. So
and he doesn't AoE. So we're not out of the woods yet, boys.
Yes, that is beautiful.
Woo, yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Woo.
Yeah. At least that's on stage 2. So Super Buu, it's not
at least you can build up a little bit.
But, yeah. So it's the same case with like what is SDR Omega. So it's not that bad, but yeah, I love I guess that we can get different variations of it soon, because they did mention this after the anniversary on JP. They were going to do some new abilities for these enemies, right? Where they're gonna get like crit chances or getting even attack and defense as the turn passes. Because I think another one of the fights in the Majin Buu Saga Red Zone, I think is the first one, they do get attack and defense added to their kit as the turn goes along. But yeah, pretty excited. We got a lot of characters that we can test out into those fights. I know that I was surprised because I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure you, Ningen, you're gonna take the heroes agenda.
Oh, I'm gonna do that at some point. I needed to beat them first, so then I'm gonna try and beat them both with the heroes team. Funnily enough, I stupidly was stubbornly trying to do it with no items, and obviously taking the risk. Like, I actually lost all of my attempts against Super Buu, so I need to. I actually need to do the Super Buu video I need to do that tomorrow instead.
No.
Because unfortunately, it was the typical sort of thing. Like, I went in with really good stacked teams, but then it was like, I'll use Vegeta's team, right, from Saiyan Day, because we've got all these crazy units. And then it's like, Buu does the AoE super and Kefla doesn't dodge. So it's like, well, instantly dead. I guess I'll start again. And then it's like, yeah, you get to the AoE phase, and I had Future Gohan on the rotation, and he's all well and good after supering, right? The LR Future Gohan gets all that damage reduction. Not very good against type disadvantage AoE super, unfortunately. So yeah, I'll have to do that tomorrow. But yeah, it's kind of funny actually, Theo. I'll get your thoughts on these if you have played them. But I joked about it at the start of the episode. But we actually have our boy Minato, who's not here. He recorded a couple of clips for us to play. To give his thoughts on some of this stuff, and I just completely forgot to play the one about his thoughts about Goku and Fat Buu. We just moved on already, so
whoops.
But yeah, Theo, tell us what you think about the new Red Zone stages. We've actually got one of those from Minato, so I guess I'll play that one first once you're done. But
honestly, you can give this one to Minato, because I actually have not played these yet. I
don't know how
what
loud
do you
this
call
is
it?
gonna be.
oh shoot, there was one thing I was gonna say, but now I don't remember it. It fell out of my head. Oh no. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't remember. Either way though, yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to try it out yet, because like I said, actually I do remember what I was gonna say. The reason why I didn't get to try it out is because I was fighting Elon last night. That was the reason why I didn't get to try it out, because I was gonna be like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, let me I'll try it out and, use Goku on it after I awakened him. And then I was having so much trouble last night because I was trying to do the Mega Thread for the assets. And I had to redo the whole thing again because Elon doesn't know how to program a website apparently. So I was like, yeah, I'm not playing Dokkan tonight, bro. I'm going to bed. I hate this website. So.
Oh boy. All right, well, I've got this lined up here. I don't know how loud it's going to be, so I might have to turn it down quickly. So headphone user warning, I guess, but let's see what Minato has to say about the Red Zone stages.
So we have a new Red Zone, and I actually thought the stages were pretty fun. We had the stage against the Bobbity and all his minions, right? I think that was a pretty cool stage, like all things considered. I think that we were able to get a lot of different mechanics, new enemy mechanics, I think, in there, and that's super cool, right? We saw the HP loss mechanic with Yamu. We saw these bosses that they'll gradually get stronger apparently during the fight, right? If you look in Dokkan Info, you could see that they have these stats that grow over time. Really interesting stuff, and them saying that they're gonna expand enemy mechanics like this, I think is really awesome, right? I mean, the HP loss helped me, for example, get S-tier Super Vegito out, and I just demolished Sabura and Bobbity and Buu, right, in those fights because I was able to get S-tier Vegito out very easily. Very, very fun fights, I think, overall. In that first stage, I think it was super awesome. Now, the stage against Super Buu, I think that a lot of people could potentially find trouble in that stage. I think especially on Global. Global and GP have the same missions, right? I'm actually literally bringing it up right now, but I believe it's there's a time limit mission, if I'm not mistaken. And with these missions, I think, for example, GP, we do have... let's say, okay, so it's Kamehameha and Buu Saga, my bad, but the mission that I remembered, yes, you have to run 7 int type characters in stage 1 as well, which is really annoying. For on JB I have Blue Evolution Vegeta, for example, so I'm kind of cooking, but on Global, what are you guys gonna run to clear it in 7 turns unless you use items? But you can't use items because the mission says without items, so very interesting. How that's gonna turn out. Maybe Kid Buu is an int character in part 2, an LR Kid Buu or something, or an LR Ultimate Gohan is an int character. That's kind of cool in a sense where it's like, okay, maybe it's giving us a little hint to that, but I don't know. But other than that, I think this new event was really fun. The Super Buu fight was that is at the end he does an AoE super that's like 1.4 mil, but there are like like say Goku for example, Super Saiyan 3 Goku. It's a Ki Blast super, right? So he can counter that. You could even bring a character like the Tech Androids, and then their type advantage, they guaranteed nullify the super attack. They have a Ghost Usher even. There are some options you could bring there, and I think again, while people will struggle with it, overall, I think it's a very interesting design for the first stage. Second stage, it's difficult, right? And I think once Global gets more options, like 9th anniversary kind of options, it'll be a lot easier, right? Like me with my 9th anniversary kind of teams, I didn't really find a lot of struggle, but I feel like a lot of people might end up finding that kind of struggle, right? So that's my opinion on there. Overall, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's a few interesting points there that like I definitely thought when I was making my teams, especially for Goku. It's kind of like a thing for Goku and Buu in general, I guess, but like even for Vegeta's team from Saiyan Day, is when you're trying to build like the best version of that team as a global player, but obviously as somebody who's very aware of like the Dokkan landscape in general, like I'm very much aware that like, I'll be building the team and then it'll be like, I wish I had this unit that's out on JP because they'd be perfect as like the last unit in the team. But we don't have them, like Blue Evolution Vegeta with his EZA for Vegeta's team. Some of the extreme stuff for Buu. So it's very interesting thinking about the difference between the two teams and how they are still kind of different between Global and JP. But yeah, that does bring us to a very interesting topic, considering about the differences between Global and JP. I think I'm skipping one ahead in the list, but that's fine. We can move on to this one next since it's a nice little segue. One of the things that we kind of thought almost instantly when we found out that it was going to be Goku and Fat Buu, and we started thinking about like, what could their leader skills be and stuff like that. Obviously, the idea came to mind very quickly that like, well, what if they have new Majin Buu Saga leader skills, which of course they have kind of ended up having as one of their 3 170s. The Majin Buu Saga team is going to be nowhere near as good on Global because JP has had the anniversary, and during the anniversary we got the EZAs for STR, Vegito, and Physical Buhan. And so then in what was probably one of the bits of news I was most excited about from that producer letter thing, outside of just the confirmation, because by then with the teaser that they posted and like the I Seriously gif and all that stuff, we basically knew it was Goku versus Fat Buu. But then when they posted the producer letter and we got that piece of information that we were getting the Buhan and STR Vegito EZAs early on Global, I think that was possibly one of the most hype parts of that announcement for me as a global player. So obviously Raudo as the another global player, I just realized I'm not outnumbered on this episode now, as the global mains are in the majority today. But yeah, as a fellow global player, Raudo, how excited were you? Have you got these guys EZA'd yet? Let us know your thoughts on the these EZAs coming early to global. Oh, I think you're muted.
I think he's muted. I think you're muted.
There we go. It's like getting water on a desert, dude.
Oh, you spilled water?
No, it's like getting water like on a desert, like that experience.
Oh, gotcha.
Getting these ECAs early, that was beautiful. I didn't expect that at all because of course this is apart from the anniversary. They never do this where they just take a piece from the anniversary and just move it early for global. I guess they're trying to like shift gears into getting stuff synced up. But in addition, it would make perfect sense, right? This is a Majin Buu celebration. We got these guys that are Majin Buu Saga themed. They're getting their ECAs, but it was on the anniversary. But moving them early seems like a pretty massive W on their end. I was able to ECA them yesterday, and yeah, they were as good as I expected them to be. They did a phenomenal job. I feel like Buhan is glorious with that ECA.
Yeah, he's so good.
I haven't tested out Vegito too much, but I feel as though he's also going to be looking pretty good, especially now for returning back to Buhan. With his team, now that Majin Buu is out, he looks crazy in that team. The massive, again, the healing is just it's just there. It's just going to help you out a lot. And the link sets that most of these Majin Buu Saga characters have is going to be very beneficial for having them into the team. So yeah, when they threw out the producer's letter, I was in shock. I never expected them to just put out the ECAs for these two characters right away. So very happy to get them early here on the game. So very good. Very good.
Same. I think, like I say, the global versions of the Buu and Goku teams would just be significantly worse, right, if they hadn't brought these guys out. So
yeah,
definitely massive W for global. So Theo, obviously they've been out on JP for a while. I don't know how much experience you've gotten with them since the anniversary, but I'm assuming you have got to use these guys a little bit. What do you think of these guys? Obviously, the fact that Buu Saga is now getting all these buffs, it was kind of one of those things where they got their EZA as part of the anniversary, and whilst they did fit on to some of the teams you could run at the time, it did take a lot of people by surprise. But obviously now Buu Saga is the focus, and these guys have like a new place they've got a new kitchen to cook in, I guess you could say. So what do you think of these guys?
Yeah, I really like them, actually. I've used both of them quite a bit. Ironically enough, I think I've actually used Buhan more, because you would think like, oh, well, it's like Vegito, bro. You'd be using that man 24/7. But I think it's just because obviously since the, villain options are a lot more limited, and obviously on the, the Majin Power team, especially up until now. And I also don't have 21. So that man is like a super huge asset to me, to be honest. And not to mention, I forget what particular events it was or what missions, but Annie or post Annie content, I don't remember what it was specifically. I think it was what's it, the artificial life forms mission?
Yeah, the artificial life against
yeah. That guy like was such a huge help in that mission, like absolutely incredible in that mission. I think they're both really good. I think that Buhan especially, like, maybe again it's just because there's less of them to choose from, but he's fantastic. I've gotten a lot of good usage out of him. I think in terms of it coming to global though, early, right? I think that is really interesting. I'm glad that they did, because I completely agree that it's like, dog, that would have not been it unless the boys would have been, here to join the cast. So I'm glad that they did get brought up early. I think as well, in terms of like bringing up stuff from the anniversary, this was probably the perfect thing to do, because this was basically just like the anniversary DLC, right? Because like this was the like the bonus content. It wasn't even technically the EX part.
It was the last thing they did, pretty much, wasn't it?
Right. It was just like, extra stuff. We're not even going to call it anything specific. It's just, here you go, here they are, bada bing, bada boom. So I think that that's perfect. I will be curious to see if they do decide to like replace that with anything. If they decide to, like fill in that gap. Honestly, even if they don't, I don't really think it's that big of a deal, because again, like we are just saying, like it's an extra thing. So I think the benefit they have of choosing this to bring up early is that it wasn't even really anything that, like, if it would have gone removed or moved, it wouldn't have really impacted anything, to be honest. So I think this was kind of the perfect thing to, move.
Yeah.
I don't know though. That will be interesting to see if they do decide to actually like, replace that with anything. I don't know necessarily what they would replace that with. If it would be like another EZA, or if it would be some other type of content. But even if like nothing goes there, I think that in this specific instance, it's not really that big of a deal. So overall, global W.
Yeah, big W. So the thing is, something like this has happened once before. It was the 7th. Was it the 7th year or the 8th? No, it was the 7th year. I'm pretty sure. It was. We got the JP in like the last part of the anniversary. Got the free-to-play LR, GT, Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. And then that came out early for Global. So then at the end of the anniversary, Global got the Tech Super Saiyan 4 Full Power Goku EZA as a global first.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that we could see a global first EZA at the end of the anniversary, which of course, as we move closer and closer to the sync, things like that are kind of beneficial because it gives them time then where JP has something that they have to kind of catch up with instead of getting something new that global doesn't have. Or the other speculation I've seen is that they could then have something come out at the end of the anniversary that is like a catch-up banner, or like they could drop Topo or something as like part of the end of the anniversary, which I think is less likely, but there's just a whole bunch of options of things that now there's this gap at the end of the anniversary where they could fit something else in, which essentially helps global catch up to JP a little bit. Right. So definitely very interesting. But yeah, these guys are super good. I've definitely enjoyed using them. What's funny is I think we talked about this on an episode when they got their EZAs during the anniversary, and I found out Minato was a fellow soldier. But back when these guys released, I only had them at 55%, and then obviously we know on global worldwide units take like 10 months to come back. So I had a long time to play with them, only at 55%. And I always preferred Buhan over Vegito in terms of just how good the units were. And I feel like now that they have their EZAs, I feel like Buhan is definitely better than Vegito. So I don't know what you guys think, whether you agree with that or not. Because after you transform, if you get a couple of stacks in base or like in the Buu tanks, once he transforms, you put him with someone that has big bad bosses. His super attack stacks for like 4 turns, which means when he comes back around again, the turn after you've transformed into Buhan, he had like 1.2 million defense at the start of the turn, and he has guaranteed guard as the Buhan as well for the as he turns. So he's absolutely just crazy. The Goku and Vegeta are good. I think the problem is if you don't get them to fuse into Vegito as you get further into the event, it can be an issue, which is one of those things that is very hit or miss, because obviously you have to be below a certain HP threshold to get their transformation, which when it comes to difficult content, sometimes it's super easy to lose a bunch of health, and then sometimes you get stuck in an awkward situation where you don't. Because funnily enough, one of the attempts that I lost against the Super Buu Red Zone stage was because I wasn't able to transform Goku and Vegeta. And so in their base, even though they do have some damage reduction, because they're STR, they took like 700k from the Super Buu AoE. Whereas, funnily enough, I did have an attempt that I obviously also lost, where I did have Vegito out. And because Vegito has much higher defense that carries over from the previous turns and has damage reduction, he actually only took about 200k from the super, which, to be fair, considering it's a type disadvantage like AoE super, I genuinely thought it was going to do a lot more damage than that. So I was actually quite impressed in that sense. But yeah, if you don't get them to fuse, they can be a bit of a liability. Whereas I think Buhan, he has to be over a certain amount of HP, and he has a ton of healing, not only himself, but also on the team. Also, one thing I guess I learned, because I suppose this has always been the case, but we just didn't have any enemy mechanics that did these specific things where it was like a visual thing on the screen that their ability activates. But the enemy abilities activate, if they have special abilities, before your units, it seems like, because I jumped into that stage to test out Buhan for the EZA, the Barbady's Forces one. And Yamu makes you lose 10% HP at the end of the turn. And then Buhan's passive, where you heal 20% of HP at the beginning of the turn, went off. So I just went back up to full health straight away. So that's really interesting to know that, like, yeah, that ability goes off first, and then any of your units that have at the start of turn abilities, then they go off afterwards. So any of these characters that can heal, they essentially like negate that ability that Yamu has, which I think was quite interesting.
That is interesting.
So yeah, these two guys out on global, a nice extra 66 stones for your summons as well, getting these EZAs
Absolutely.
done. But yeah, two very strong units. They work very well with the new characters. They're both on their respective like 200% leads. I'm not sure if there probably is some crossover between like Vegito being on Buu's team or whatever, but Buu gets the 200% leader skill from Fat Buu, and Vegito gets it from Goku. And of course, one of the big things for global players that I know I was looking forward to specifically is that the STR Goku and Vegeta get the 200% leader skill from the Saiyan Day Vegeta. And they share like 4 links with him or something in base. So he's like the perfect slot 1 unit to go on his team build. And then you have these guys in slot 2. Then you have like Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan. They fuse into Vegito. And then, yeah, that Vegeta team just got this massive buff that a lot of us thought that we were going to have to wait until the anniversary to get for Vegeta's team. And it was right at the end of the anniversary too. So getting it this early is definitely a big W for Global. So certainly very happy about how that's turned out. So we also have another EZA that is in-game, because we have another upcoming one to talk about that we mentioned briefly before, but another EZA in-game on both versions, which I thought was actually quite exciting. This is another thing, like, I know free-to-play units don't hold that same kind of level as hype for a lot of people, especially if you are someone who spends money on the game. But this guy right here, Tech Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. Now this guy, if you've been playing the game for quite some time, I think this guy was actually like my first rainbow unit, because obviously he was a farmable free-to-play character. I think when Tech Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku the Dokkan Fest came out is when he awakened into a Super Saiyan 3, because he was originally just a Super Saiyan. And yeah, I think I'm fairly sure he was like my first rainbow unit, because he was actually a free farmable TUR. And so yeah, I think his passive pre-EZA was like high chance of 180% attack, and that's it. So of course he has been
old hand.
He has been like beyond unusable for a very long time. But yeah, honestly, like I say, even though my expectations are never even really super high for free-to-play units, I'm not gonna lie, I was genuinely excited when I saw his EZA announced in that it was either in the producer layer or it was in one of the other later update things that we got. Because it's definitely not something that I expected to happen. I should have thought that it could, being that we were getting a new Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, but this guy was just that forgotten. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to use him yet. Obviously, depending on how long you guys have played the game, is this a guy that you farmed up back in the day? Raudo, I don't know how long you've been playing actually. Is this a guy from your Dokkan past, or are you just getting him up now to get his EZA?
No, actually, I think I had him for the longest time. I'm looking at his details over on the wiki. He came out like 2017.
Yep.
So I've been playing the game since before that.
Yep.
Looking into his kit, I haven't used him yet. I haven't been able to EZ him yet, but he looks pretty interesting, pretty solid for a free-to-play character. The chances of, he just had a massive shift from just getting the high chance of the attack to just getting all the other stuff.
Yeah.
That it seems like a little nice touch, little massive update that they can be able to bring these guys to like, I guess up to speed. Of course, you're not gonna run them same with the main Dokkan Fest one, but there's a pretty good, like a friendly option, a pretty good unit to have on your box there. And for those people who haven't grinded this character, that would be a pretty good free-to-play character to have.
Yeah.
To be pretty solid.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Theo, you love the Super Saiyan 3s too. I'm sure you had this guy.
Do.
Did you already link level him like I did as well? Ready to go?
Actually, funny enough, I didn't. I should. That's a very good point. I know. Fake fan. But like,
you gotta have all those Super Saiyan 3s link leveled.
Listen, bro, I gotta get on it. I've been the reason why I haven't link leveled so many characters is because I have a stupid obsession with like getting them perfectly link level 10 and not just like leaving it at like one link is at 9.
Yeah.
And so it ends up with like months and months of me having the same characters on the team of that one link that won't go up because I'm just like, I need them all to be 10. But anyway, I have not gotten a chance to use this guy yet, unfortunately. However, funny enough, yeah, this guy is like a really old favorite character of mine. I remember using him a lot on like the old like Prime battles and stuff like that because obviously he was a character used for that. And obviously him being a Super Saiyan 3, it's very cool. Funny enough, I feel like he was one of those characters that I swear like for some reason I knew that he didn't have an EZA, but every time I thought about him, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's got an EZA by now, surely, right? Like, he was like 2017 character, right? Like, of course he would have an EZA by now. Nope, definitely not.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see him finally get that EZA. Honestly, I was pretty excited about that when I saw it in the news, because obviously, you know, that's a really old character that definitely needed it. And again, hey, more Super Saiyan 3 love, you know, add him on to the 5 other Super Saiyan 3s, you know, from this year. I swear, bro, they definitely, like, I thought it was just because it was, you know, like, for New Year's and Year of the Dragon type of thing, but they really weren't kidding when that Super Saiyan 3 Goku promo, like, Happy New Year little poster came out, man. Because that, you know, they really were not sugarcoating that there was going to be a lot of those boys showing up this year. So I'm a happy man about that. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to grind him up and try him out. Yeah. He's a character I've been excited to get it for a while.
But yeah, so I would say that he is quite solid. I did his EZA earlier. I did the showcase video for him. He is a unit that I often do this because obviously I went through a phase where I was link leveling like crazy and just link leveling every random unit on in my box, which I don't do as much anymore. I try and save a bit more stamina nowadays, but in terms of save stones, I guess, for just constantly refreshing stamina, I'll go ham link leveling when new units come out, but yeah. Don't go quite as crazy as I used to. But this guy definitely made that list, right? Because he's a unit that I always was hoping could like randomly get an EZA. So I wanted to have him ready to go. And yeah, I would say he's pretty decent. It's one of those things. It's annoying when you have a character that has a chance to get a certain part of their passive activate. And then you get like a couple of turns in a row where they do the same like numbers consistently every time. So it's like you can't really tell. It's like, so did this activate every time or did it not activate every time? I can't tell because every turn was the same, right? I need to see one turn where the attack was lower or higher to know whether it was activated, because he still has the high chance to get 180% extra attack, but then he also has a bunch of other stuff as well, right? So he actually has a proper passive. He has 60% chance to dodge if you're above a certain amount of HP, which is pretty good. And then, yeah, like I say, I'm not entirely sure if his full passive was active or not, but he's dropping like 9 million attack stats, which I thought was pretty good for free-to-play character. He's only getting around sort of 350 to 400k defense, which is not great for the current meta, but he is backing it up with 60% chance to dodge. So for a free-to-play unit, like looking at him in that lens and kind of tempering expectations, right, for him being a free-to-play card, I would say he's pretty good for a free-to-play unit. Definitely a solid EZA. The only downside for him, and funnily enough, it's funny that it's the Super Saiyan 3s again, but it's like the same thing with when Dragon Fist Goku came out and the LR got his EZA. The problem is he has the same name as the main like team guy that you want to run him on, right? Because the new Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku is one of his better 200% leaders. Otherwise, you're running him on teams like, you know, Yamcha, who is still kind of relevant, but like they don't link together well. Like Tech Bardock, who's outdated now. Turtle School Goku, the Carnival LR, like they don't really link very well. So like his best team in terms of synergy with a lot of the other units that will be on that team is the new Goku. But then, of course, he can't link with him. So the new Goku is a slot 1 unit, though. So that does kind of fix that issue a little bit. Because with the Super Saiyan 3 Gokus, with the Dragon Fist and the LR, they kind of both want to be in slot 2 or 3, which made that issue a bit more prevalent. Whereas now, you can have the AGL Gokus in slot 1, and then this guy could actually be a decent floater on the team. Because AGL Goku wants a Buu Saga character on rotation to get his full buffs. But like on one rotation, for example, you probably want to be running him with the STR Dragon Fist Goku, who isn't a Buu Saga character. So one of the ways I found that's been the most effective way to run his team is to just have all the floating units be Buu Saga characters. So you always have a Buu Saga character on rotation. And in that respect, especially if you are, you know, lacking some of the better unit options, this guy is a solid free-to-play unit. So I was definitely happy with his EZA. It's funny to think that they did that EZA a while ago for the physical Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, the one from the barbershop. Yeah. And he's just terrible. Whereas this guy is actually pretty decent. So for a free-to-play unit, obviously, he's not going to be like top pick for the team if you have every single, you know, every single unit in the game in your box. But yeah, for a free-to-play unit, his performance, I think, is really good. So definitely impressed with him. So yeah, nice little free to play. His sticker effect's pretty cool as well, because obviously he has the Kamehameha sort of like key sphere on the card, which those always look the best with the stickers. So this guy definitely very solid. So I would say get him farmed up. Of course, if you want to be an absolute madman, I actually did this back when the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Dokkan Fest came out. You can farm this guy to farm the AGL Goku super attack, but it involves farming a card that you have to awaken like 4 separate times, so it takes a long time. And I think every time you awaken the card to this form, you have to use medals from the Tech Angel Dokkan Fest, which means you'd have to play that event like 21 times or something to get all the medals to awaken all the side banner units. So I just use Kai's on my Goku this time around, but but
you have no excuse. You have like 1,000. Of course you can use Kai.
Well, this is why I said. This is why I always say now, right? Is I Dokkan responsibly in the past, so I don't have to Dokkan responsibly now, right? That's why I have 1,000 Kais, because now I literally used Kai's on the side banner Gotenks, and he has a farmable SSR. But I was like, nah. I'm going to use some of these Kais.
Thank God he's a changed man.
But definitely very good. Get him farmed up if you haven't already. Certainly very good. But definitely a solid unit. So the only other thing we know about, I said, in terms of EZAs, is we do have the I guess for global, we kind of already had that with the Vegito and Buhan, but the big ticket Dokkan Fest EZA that we always look forward to seeing when the celebration info comes out for a new celebration, who's going to be the big Dokkan Fest that gets an EZA for the current celebration. And for this one is a unit that I think a lot of people did expect to be getting an EZA and will be another fantastic addition to one of these teams. And of course, that is the Tech Exchange Buu. So he starts out as Fat Buu, exchanges into Evil Buu, and then later on transforms into Super Buu. I think the big reason, we talked about this on the podcast last week, I think, the big reason a lot of people thought this guy was going to EZA is because obviously they EZA'd Int Gotenks, who came out with him at the same time as a Dual Dokkan Fest, but they didn't EZA him. And then all of a sudden, Global got Gotenks' EZA way ahead of schedule, but none of the other stuff from what JP was getting. So one of the things I saw that we said, again, we talked about it last week, was, well, maybe they've done this so that Gotenks is EZA'd on both versions just in time for Golden Week, because then Tech Exchange Buu gets his EZA, and then they've both got their EZAs, and it was only like a week or two apart between the two versions. So yeah, what are your thoughts? I don't know, Raudo, did you pull this guy when he first came out? I know he was not considered to be super great when he first came out. I can remember not being a huge fan of him on release, but what are your thoughts on this guy, and what would you like to see from his EZA?
I think I vaguely remember when he came out. So to get to his like the best state that he was back in the day, which was the Super Buu version, it just took him like 3 turns, so it passively just transformation. But right now we're looking at it now. It's just he only has like 3 lines on his passive that is not gonna be beneficial in today's meta. Of course, we're gonna wait until we see his details. But back in the day, just having that consistent damage reduction turn by turn after transformation, it was very good to have, because not a lot of units frequently had that damage reduction that was needed to like take down tough events back in the day, other than Dokkan events. But seeing that we are getting this EZA, I'm hopeful that JP gets it as well.
I think it is listed in the JP news as well, right? It is just like the big EZA for both versions.
Should be. I didn't see him like the little layout that they usually put out in this. They did on the announcement on Global, but I didn't see it on JP.
I think it was that they didn't talk about it on JP yet, like they were trying to hide it, but then Global was just like, LOL, here you go.
Yeah. Well, it's like the if you go into the news in game, like the actual celebration info should have it listed, right? Because it's it comes out, is it next week?
Yeah, it's on the
here's Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Where is it? It's further down.
Nope, it's not there.
Oh, really? So it's not in the news on
that's what I
JP.
mentioned. It's not JP.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
people were talking about it, because everybody was
Right.
memeing that Global spoiled it because they just threw it in there, and because
Okay.
usually JP does that where like they just don't add the EZA until later. You know, and then it's like, oh, it's a surprise. What is it gonna be? You know, but then obviously
Global
just
is
said,
just like, there you go. Bam.
I
Surprise.
guess, bro.
Yeah, so it's
So-
the Thursday the 5th. Thursday the 5th. So this coming Thursday, so just under a week from now. So by the next episode, we will have is it? No, it's the it's the second. Sorry,
No,
it's
it's the
because
second,
dates
yeah.
the date's the wrong way round. Good old American dates. Yeah, it's the
America.
yeah, so sorry, Thursday the 2nd, but yeah, so it's just under a week away. So by next week's episode, the EZA will be live in game. Will have come out
I'm
the day
assuming-
before. So
I'm assuming JP will post their details.
yeah,
Over there, so we will see how good he will be.
yeah,
Of course, helpful to keep the damage reduction. Maybe some healing can be added onto their passive, just to keep the healing trend going. And just make him good, make him solid. I feel like, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think his biggest issue when he first came out is that he had damage reduction, but like it was kind of like the issue that Zamasu had when he first came out, where he has damage reduction, but he didn't have a lot of defense. So once enemies started to hit a lot harder, he didn't have enough damage reduction for it to really make a difference because he didn't have the defense to back it up. So yeah, I think the big hope is that obviously whoever designed Kefla and Gotenks' EZAs, give that man this the project for Exchange Buu, because yeah, those guys are like the two best EZAs at the moment in terms of EZA TURs. So hopefully Evil Buu or Exchange Buu can follow along in their footsteps. Theo, what did you think about this guy? I know I can't remember exactly what they all are off the top of my head, but I know he does have some pretty funny animations. But what are your thoughts on the unit in general? Obviously not just the animations, but what are your thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, no, I've always liked this guy. Actually, he's always been personally like a favorite unit of mine in the game. He also like it's kind of funny, right? Obviously, I think from the perspective of like, oh, it's really cool that he's like a really good representation of like all the forms of Buu, because obviously he was like probably the closest thing to a modern version of it that we had. Obviously, right, like as STR Super Buu is really old, so of course his animations are very outdated now, but in terms of like actually he's always kind of been a fan favorite of mine. I always like the shenanigans of the transformation, and he was, I believe, the unit that actually really carried me through I think it was whatever it was that was like either Majin Power or Majin. It had to be Majin Power, I would think. Like the the Extreme Super Battle Road, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering that correctly, because he came out around the time that came out, if memory serves. So it was like, what do you call it? He was like super, super helpful for that. Like I remember I couldn't beat it. And then when I got him, I was like, oh man, he's correct. So I remember, using him quite a bit for that. So I don't know. I've always kind of had a soft spot for that unit. Not to mention, obviously he came out with Gotenks. And funny enough for me, very specifically, I know this is like not related to the unit, I guess, but for a while, I don't think they still are. Those OSTs, the Gotenks and the Buu OSTs were the most viewed OSTs on my channel for a really long time. Yeah, they were. Let me look real quick because I can just look on my phone here. If I go by popular. Yeah, they're not the most popular now. Funny enough, the most viewed video on the Dokkan Battle channel is the cooler rap, which I honestly think is awesome. I'm not gonna lie. But Birdku and Super Vegeta have overtaken them in terms of views. But funny enough, after them, there's one more video, and then the next two are Gotenks and Buu. So even though they've been dethroned, they also, both of them have a little bit of a special place in my heart for, that fact. Because I remember that was like one of the first OST videos that I had that really like exploded. So I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I've always liked him. I was honestly pretty excited when I saw him in the news, right? Because obviously I think that is a perfect EZA for this celebration. Yeah. And not to mention, right, obviously I know we kind of talked about it and I sort of touched on it before, but man, like they really just gave the Buu team like every buff under the sun, man. Like they set these boys up for success. These pink blobs got it good nowadays, bro. Yeah. Like, obviously this is just another great character to be able to run on the team. And honestly, like, I don't know. You could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like with how like limited the options were already, I kind of feel like you might have just been running this guy even without the EZA, just because it's like, what else would you kind of be running? Yeah. Maybe, right? Like obviously I'm sure that there's some other better options possibly, but I feel like this guy might have just ended up on the team anyway, so it's cool that he's just gonna be better, So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for this guy. I hope that they do him justice. I hope it's not an EZA where we're now waiting for the super EZA.
Yeah, that would be the worst because he's going to be another really good, because Buu, I think it suffers. It's just the extreme curse again, right? Like Buu is good. The banner unit, Evil Buu, like I said, I haven't had a chance to test him out myself. I've heard some good things, but like his team, when I was putting his team together for different events, like there are always maybe one or two choices that you have to make, like when you get to like the 5th or 6th unit in the team, where it's kind of like, I haven't got like the best, all the last couple of options are not exactly like top tier. I'm not like spoilt for choice. Whereas, this Tech Buu just becomes another very valuable like piece in that team, which is very, very good. So definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do. Like we say, we hope that hopefully they give his EZA to the team that made Kefla and Gotenks, because just like Gotenks is, I mean, these guys, remember, they released as a dual Dokkan Fest, so they're kind of similar, right? Where they have the same sort of turns that they then transform. And we know that when you get Gotenks to Super Saiyan 3, like he kind of goes ham. And obviously the Buu, his final form is him becoming the Super Buu, where he already has, it's like greatly raised attack and defense for 3 turns, and then he has damage reduction, and he builds up like crit chance. So once they give him like actual defense, and then potentially even increase that damage reduction or give him a way to increase it or something like that, hopefully that Super Buu is going to be on that sort of Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks level. And then, that Buu team is going to be able to survive throughout the early phases with all the healing. And then it has a lot of these units that you get multiple turns in. And then the new Buu's got his stacks, can use his active skill. LR Buhan's transforming. This guy's transforming into Super Buu. And like that team just goes crazy like at the end. So very much looking forward to that one. So that is an EZA, like we say, whilst it's not in the news for JP, it's very, very, I say very likely. I would say almost certain, right, that it's coming to JP as well. The funny thing is, I think someone did mention it in the chat previously, but this actually happened, I think we joked about it on a previous episode. It happened with the GT Super Saiyans, where JP had the thing in the news for the STR and AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta like EZAs, but they weren't in the news for Global. And so on Twitter, everyone was like, Global Shaft, we're not getting the EZA. And then like 2 days later, it appeared in the news. So this is basically just going to be that, but the other way around, right? Where it's going to appear in the news a little bit later on. So
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of interesting stuff to look forward to. This guy, there's a couple of things, I didn't make them into specific discussion topics because obviously we don't know all of the details, but we've got a lot of interesting things coming up. I think both versions are getting new stages for either Extreme Super Battle Road or Normal Super Battle Road or both. We are getting a new stage for that Intensifying Fights event, which is interesting because that is the one where you have the depending on the action that you take of a certain variety, one was orbs, one was, I think, super attacks or something, you can then fight like a different boss, and it's kind of like a secret mission thing, which I think was kind of cool. It's the kind of thing I'd like to see them do more, so we know we're getting that. There's also the thing in the news, I know at least for Global, about the legendary campaign for the physical Barbary and Buu, which means they'll be getting an EZA at some point during the course of the celebration. New stage of Infinite Dragon Ball history, all that sort of stuff we would expect to come along with a celebration. So tons more stuff to look forward to, more stuff that of course we will talk about as it releases in the subsequent episodes. But yeah, that is everything that we sort of know about or is coming very soon into the game. A lot going on today. It's been one of those the typical, like, we go through that drought and then all of a sudden there's 50 million things to do.
Yeah,
basically spend like all day recording pretty much, so much stuff to do, which is nice. But yeah, tons and tons of stuff to do, missions for the red zone and everything, so still got plenty of things to be getting on with. So yeah, in terms of things to be getting on with, before we move on to the almost final segment of the podcast, just another reminder, if you guys want to help support the podcast, if you have any other questions or shout outs, appreciate all the ones that have come in so far. We will be reading all of those out at the end of the episode. So if you want to get any of those in before the end, those will all be taken care of after the upcoming segment. So we finally get to that part of the show that we know you all love. That's right. We get to the Trash Takes segment. So as the host for this week, I did pick the take. I have not shown it to the others beforehand. Not deliberately, just with all the rush to get ready, and then unfortunately the Discord issues and stuff.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, Discord was being a little stinky in the beginning.
Yeah, we were quite lucky actually. We managed to get in actually in time in the end. But yeah, we were setting up the call to get everything ready to go, and it just for some reason was not connecting. And then Raudo had a quick check, and there was actually like Discord themselves posted a thing about it. So we were trying to do all the normal podcast prep that we would normally do, just in like text-based chat instead. But fortunately, managed to all get working basically just in time. So we were able to start the show. I think it was like 2 minutes late or something. So
yeah,
apologies for that. But yeah, Discord being a bit of it's a good thing, because I mean, if it had gotten to 8 o'clock and it just wasn't working at all, then I'm not really sure. I don't know what we'd been able to do really. So,
yeah, just been like, oh well.
Fortunately,
I mean, we were talking about, listen, we have technical difficulties on the podcast all the time, but
it's
at least
true.
This time it was out of our control. We literally couldn't do anything. It just wouldn't connect. So shout out to Discord devs. Please fix the mobile app. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so there you go. We are going to move into the Trash Takes segment for today. So I'm going to bring this up here. This trash take comes to us from Twitchy Gains, who says, people judge units in a vacuum far too much. Special post units should be rated with LR Ginyu's support in mind, and superheroes units should be rated with Beasts and Gogeta's active in mind.
Wait,
etc.
whoa.
So I did reach out to this person in order to get some extra, because I think we've talked about this before, where one of the reasons why I picked this and why this one stood out to me is I know I've talked about it before. So if you guys remember, I can't remember whether it is on the podcast or not. I've talked about it. But this is a take that I have definitely talked about in the past, that I have seen people make before, that I do not agree with. So I thought it'd be an interesting one to pick, to see what you guys think.
Do you have more details?
Yeah,
no?
I'm just getting I'm just switching over to the slot.
Because I immediately when I look at this, I'm like, wait, is that not being contradictory to itself right out the gate?
Yeah. Well, it's saying that people judge units in a vacuum too much. So essentially the take is that people will say like, this unit is this level of good or bad. But what he's saying is you should take into account the fact that if that unit is on, say, special pose, you're going to be running them with LR Ginyu, who's going to give them tons of support. So actually they're better than you are essentially evaluating them as. Whereas like a lot of people do rate units in a vacuum, where they say, no, I don't care about support. Like this is what the unit does on their own. And so the clarification that he gave over here was, Most units released now have some form of support, whether it's buffs, taunt, ghost usher, etc. So it's reasonable to analyze units considering their support abilities their team has, as well as just the unit themselves. If those units are meta relevant. And then he sort of elaborates here. If you're running special pose, you're most likely running LR Ginyu because he's really good. So special pose units like LR Ribrien should have that support considered. Like I said, the unit providing the support has to be good themselves. We're not saying physical Kid Buu is good because he's on teams that have like ghost ushers and stuff like that. But there is value in a unit who doesn't require much from their team. LR Orange Piccolo aged well because of this. And their performance will generally be more consistent across multiple teams, but there is value in considering how well a unit does considering the team they are on as a whole. So this is the kind of thing, like, people will say, I know this was a big meme after the anniversary, is like people would say, well, Beast Gohan is so good and Beast Gohan just dominates like everything that basically every unit that's on his team should now be considered like magnitudes better than they were before, because Beast Gohan basically makes it so that none of the units on his team can actually get killed. Which to me, I don't like that, right? Like, I do rate units in a vacuum. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about this one. I don't know if one of you particularly wants to jump in first, but I'll get the poll set up here and I'll let one of you guys take it away.
I don't know. Raudokun, what do you think first?
I'll try to jump in and see.
I don't know what I think. I want to hear your thoughts first before I make a decision on this, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, from what I'm taking over here, so this Twitchy gang, so he's putting in examples afterwards. That kind of reminds me of like whenever units come out back in the day when they bring out new categories into the game. So, for example, we had Sworn Enemies. Frieza brought that category for the first time. And we had a side banner character where it provided support for the team. So it was kind of necessary for, I guess, the category to build up in on itself so it can get, I guess, jump started in a way. But what I'm seeing here is like special post units need to be rated or should be rated with Ginyu support in mind. What happens if you don't get Ginyu? What happens if you don't get Beast? You don't get Gogeta? Like, a lot of people do kind of like judge directly the characters right away without evaluating possible outlets, basically on himself with support and anything like that. But I'm not gonna, like, let's say Topo. Topo doesn't link pretty well with Ginyu, and I mean, if I'm mistaken, of course. But it's just putting a bunch of units in the same team just for the sake of them linking, just for them to get some sort of support or like a good bench character so they can get some pretty high attack stats. I don't think this is I feel like this is an L for me. Granted, that the first section they had me like, yeah, people do judge units in a vacuum far too much, but then afterwards, just kind of losing me for a little bit because if we do take into account like units that need or like require support in order for them to be good, but you don't have the characters in order for them to support them, then how would you be rating your characters then? Is that like big issue or like, yeah, you need to have all the characters in the game in order for you to like gauge your units perfectly,
right?
At least that's what I'm taking. I'm also seeing like superhero units should be rated with Beasts and Gogetas active in mind, so those characters with the target skill mechanic, it's a lifesaver. It's a pretty good option to have, but it doesn't make or break superheroes, right? A lot of people were thinking Orange Piccolo is no longer needed because we got Beast Gohan. Superheroes is safe, but Orange Piccolo is a very good asset to that team still. So it's not like, oh, you need to take into account Gogeta's like the target skill. You need to take into account just for the sake of superheroes to be good or Ginyu's level of support to have the team be better, just because Ginyu support is massive. I feel like it's just the team composition, right? So most of the characters come out. Orange Piccolo is still, for me, very decent. Or at least Gohan, I guess, like the people like to call him. He's better now because he has Gohan, but I don't see that having the active skill benefits him, right? So it's a good to have, but it doesn't make or break the team. So at least that's my thoughts on it. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so I guess I should like say first, usually when I take a look at a unit, or like when I'm recommending a unit to somebody, like the way that I always like to think about this in terms of like something like this, of like judging units, is it's like, okay, obviously I know what I look at a unit if I'm like, yeah, this unit's pretty good, or if I think that they're not that good. I think the way that I usually like to think about this, honestly, is when I'm recommending units to my friends who don't play the game as much, because they'll be like, oh, hey, they play Dokkan like casually. They're not like as, in it as we are, right? And they'll like, text me or message me or whatever and be like, hey, I did a multi and I got this guy. Is he good? Or like, is this team good or whatever? And then I kind of like, that's when I put on my, little thinking cap of like, okay, now it's time to evaluate these units and sort of judge them. And so it kind of boils down to like, how do I think it through when I'm recommending a unit to somebody, right? That's kind of the way that I like to like, I know it's kind of weird to like justify it in that way in my head, but that's kind of the way that it makes me think of it first. And whenever I'm thinking of it first, I think of both, actually. I think of the unit in a vacuum and on the teams and the support that they have, right? You have to think about, I think both of those things is important to take into consideration when, like judging a unit and, in my case, like recommending them, right? Obviously, you want the unit to be able to be good on their own and sort of hold their own, and be good. But obviously, they also want to be able to work well on their own teams. And sometimes, of course, you have cases with various different units where the unit may be good, but they don't have a team to really work with that well. Or vice versa, right? There might be like a unit that has like one team that they're just like absolutely cracked on. And then, like the rest of the time, they're just not him. So, I think it's important when judging units to take all those different aspects into consideration, because then it allows you to get a more whole look at a unit. So, with that being said, I kind of feel like for me, it's almost like an L and a W, because like, I think I agree that people judge units a little bit like too much on the fact that, like, oh, this unit by themselves isn't good, so they're not good, right? And I think that people should be taking into account some of the, like teams and stuff that they are a part of. But at the same time, I also think that, judging the unit on its own without considering all the other units around the character is important too. Having that good balance, I think, is what really makes a full like analysis of a unit. Haha, animation analysis, get it? Anyway, I'll see myself out. But regardless, though, I think taking all of that into consideration is important when choosing these units and judging them, because I think it just then allows you to have a more complete idea of how good a character is, in my opinion. Because like, I could be like, oh yeah, this unit's really good on, superhero, and they're like, oh, okay, so I want to run them on this team. Well, they kind of suck. So yeah. I don't know. I think just having it all be one solid package is what I prefer. So I think this is a little bit of a both. I'm kind of in between. I don't know what would be in between an L and a W in this case. But whatever that would be, I guess would be mine. I think that it's just, I don't know. I know some people judge it differently, right? I think it's just kind of a matter of opinion how you like to judge your units in that regard. So I could definitely see this kind of going either way. Yeah, lukewarm take. Yeah, that's my final answer. That's my final answer.
Yeah, so I think like we say all the time on these segments that we try and go by like the wording of the take and also getting that extra bit of information. But I think it just depends on the definition of like, because it starts off by saying people judge units in a vacuum too much. I guess it depends what they mean when we say too much, right? Because for me, when it comes to ranking units, like if I'm going to do a top 10 list or something like that, if there's a unit, what the take is essentially saying is it's like, if there's a unit that, let's say you have a unit at number 4 and a unit at number 5, so you think obviously the unit at number 4 is slightly better than 5, but the unit at number 5 is on special pose and the unit at number 4 isn't, then the take is essentially saying that the unit at number 5 maybe should actually be at number 4 because you're going to be running them on a team that has this like ridiculously crazy super buffing support unit. So that makes this unit actually better because the unit that you were going to put at number 4 doesn't have units like that on their team builds, which is kind of valid because, as we said, it is a team building game. But for me, when I'm ranking units, like, I don't want to consider like, well, this unit's better, but only if you're running him with another specific unit. Because then, like you said, Theo, in your example, it's like if then someone wants to run them on a completely different team, then they're not as good if you're not running them with these other units that are giving them like the support and stuff like that, right? So I think a unit that can, if we're looking at saying like, you know, if we're ranking our units, if we're making a top 10 list and we're trying to take into account like, you know, which units hit the hardest, which units defend the best, which units have these utility things and all stuff like that. If a unit's performance is at a certain level and then the other unit's performance is at that same level, but they need to be run with a specific other unit in order to be at that level, then for me, the way I look at units is the unit that doesn't need that other unit is then better because they're putting out like an equal performance, but one of them does it by themselves, whereas the other one needs to have the other unit around it or other units or even whole other teams around it in order to reach that same level. So whilst they can still put out a similar performance or maybe even slightly better performance, they need all those extras which the other unit potentially doesn't, which is why I have sort of always looked at it without needing always looked at this sort of take that I've seen many people make this sort of take, and sometimes people take it way more to the extreme than this one is. Like I said, there's been people in the past that have said, like, you know, even back when Orange Piccolo was like the god of the game, there would be people that say basically any unit that you can run on his team is therefore automatically better than a bunch of other units that you can't run on his team, because he gives them that turn of like the almost like invincibility, right, where he cancels out the enemy super attack, cancels out the AoEs. So then a character who like on a different team would probably then just end up getting killed, it gets protected by his ability. But to me, I've always seen that as like a, well, that's just another strength of Piccolo, not, you know, I should be rating this other unit better. So like one of the big units that is the meme is like the tech androids, because they have that Ghost Dasher ability, and then you can run them on a bunch of teams where other characters then protect them with like target abilities and giant forms and stuff, so they never have to actually get hit. But I still don't think they're a good unit because they have the Ghost Usher ability, which is great, but then they're not doing anything else. Like you can keep them protected from getting killed, but it's not like they're doing big damage. It's not like they're linking super well. Like a lot of people are just taking them on those teams for that one turn Ghost Usher ability, which is very powerful. But that in and of itself doesn't make that unit like super good, in my opinion. So yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting one to pick, just to get your guys' thoughts on it. Like I say, I can.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I can kind of see parts of it, like Theo said. I feel like there is an aspect of that, like, because realistically, I don't think we can say that it is a total full-on L, and that you should always consider units in a vacuum. Because one of the big examples is, of course, LR Omega Shenron. Because if we just look at what he does with his kit, and we say, we'll just take into a hypothetical situation that we're running him in his best case scenario, he's really good. The problem is, in practice, his best case scenario is that he has to be run on GT bosses, which is a terrible team. So you kind of have to think about the team when you're thinking about how good these units are. Because if Omega wasn't locked onto that team, he would be significantly better than he is in a lot of other people's like estimations or rankings because the rest of his team sucks. So he's kind of like the extreme example in the opposite direction, where he's actually worse because his team sucks. Whereas if his team was good, I think people would like that unit a lot more. But yeah, he's just unfortunately stuck on a very terrible team. So certainly an interesting one.
Definitely.
Our boy, shout out to our boy. He is actually in the chat as well. I did see.
Awesome.
I haven't seen the comments.
But yeah, it's like LR Beast Gohan is saying, or LR Leasthan is a great example. He sucks without support, but obviously with Beast Gohan, they link super well together. Beast Gohan kind of protects him a little bit, is the slot 1 partner that he kind of needs. So I guess it just does kind of depend. He says if you have 2 units, one is a consistent 8 out of 10, another is a 6 out of 10 usually, but is a 10 out of 10 when they're with a certain unit, I would rank the second one higher, which is basically the example I gave, whereas I wouldn't, for example. So if a unit is only better when they're run with another unit specifically, in practice, because it is a team game, then in certain situations that unit is going to be better. But if I was making like a tier list or something, I don't take that into account as much, but it is still something I think worth considering. So I think I would kind of agree that whilst I don't really agree with the general like part of the take, I definitely wouldn't say it's like a total L take, right?
Yeah.
So certainly a interesting one, bit of a mixed bag as well. We'll end the poll here in the chat. It is gonna be L take overall, but it's fairly close. It's 60-40, so it's closer to that middle range than some of the ones that we've had before. But shout out to Twitchy Gains. Appreciate you for taking part. As always, you guys make sure you're following the Slot 1 Super Podcast over on Twitter. So when we put out our weekly tweet asking for trash takes, you can take part by submitting yours. Do make sure you follow us so then we can DM you to ask for further clarification. We've had segments in the past that have literally been completely turned around by the extra explanation given. Has turned potential L's into W's. So you want to make sure that you're able to be reachable by us, so that we can get those extra details from you. So,
because you don't want to take an L, do you?
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't want to submit your take and then it's an L. I mean, to be fair, like we say in the tweet, they don't even have to be your own takes. Like if you've seen someone make a particularly spicy take that you think is crazy, you don't even agree with yourself, but you want us to talk about it, then obviously those can be included as well. But shout out to Twitchy Gains. Shout out to everyone who was here voted in the poll. As always, try and remind you guys, if you're watching the VOD or you're listening on Spotify and you can make it out to the episode live, you can obviously take part in the poll and let us know what you guys think of these takes live as we are discussing them. So with that said and done, we will move back here to... you guys can see us again here on your screens. We'll move back into the final section of the podcast, which is the donations, shout outs, contributions from all you guys in the chat. We appreciate you all very much. Help keep the show going. So thank you in advance to all of these guys. Thank you to everyone, of course, who comes out and watches the show. Everyone who watches back the VODs, listens on Spotify, all that good stuff. But yeah, we will go through these shout outs here at the end. So we have Philip Rodriguez with the $5 super chat, says, got lucky with global time limit mission for the Buu Red Zone. AGL Blues, Go Tanks, Kefla, Tech Vegito, Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, Physical Super Saiyan 4 with a friend AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. The good thing about those missions as well, a lot of the time, is they don't include the friend, right? It's like people getting the... so many people getting that special... Was it special pose versus Cell Max? And a lot of people using the strat where you just bring like an orange Piccolo friend and he does most of the work, right? Because the missions don't include the friend leader. So that is something that I'm going to be looking into that stuff tomorrow. I need to do a bunch of those missions. That one with the int units is certainly going to be very, very interesting. I actually did, while we were doing this, I went off of the results screen, unfortunately. Otherwise I could have shown it up here. But I did beat the first stage, the Barbady's Forces with the Heroes team. So that'll be getting put together for a video tomorrow. Keep pushing that Heroes agenda. But yeah, shout out to Philip Rodriguez. Shout out to Malk for re-upping his membership to the channel. I got stupid lucky, got both Goku and Buu. Super Saiyan 2 Goku reared his head when I went for a 21 dupe. Pity 21 and got 300 stones. Anniversary saving time. Yeah, that's the big thing about, obviously, these units coming back for the first time, like Android 21. I did have a few people ask me if I thought she was worth red coins. I don't know what you guys would think about that. I think she's a very solid unit. So in terms of, if you're not going to summon on this banner for Global, we have no idea when she's going to come back again. So I don't know. I'd say decent choice, especially because
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I think.
Go on.
No, go ahead. No, finish what you're gonna say first.
I was just gonna say, with her having like the Margin Power lead, which obviously is getting all these buffs, right? With the Buhan EZA, Tech Exchange Buu, like, yeah, her team is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I will say I'm maybe a little biased as a Gohan Beast enjoyer for sure, but honestly, legitimately, like, I think that I know this is like, I don't know if this is wild to say, to be honest with you, because I feel like people have been, I've seen other people say this, but honestly, I kind of feel like this is crazy to say because this is something that you would be saving your coins for so far in advance rather than, obviously something you would be getting right now. But I honestly think it's the most value for your red coins right now is to save them just in case you don't pull the 9th anniversary LRs for when they return. I genuinely think that saving your red coins for that is more beneficial than anything that you could buy at the moment. And I know that's a big ask because obviously you're asking somebody to not only like wait and see until the anniversary if they get the characters and then waiting months and months and months for them to return again, right? But I don't know.
I mean, technically speaking, with the sync and everything, we had this talk where we had the anniversary on Global in July, and then a few months later in January, we get the 10th anniversary. And then we get the characters from the worldwide download celebration and the 9th anniversary characters featured, so you can get them with the coin. So that is another thing that they can do. It's not a long waiting time.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like, what is that, like 6 months, 5 months, something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it's still a while.
I think the thing is that I talk about it a lot when people ask me about coins, is it kind of depends like how much you summon as well. Because if you're someone who doesn't get coins back very quickly, then if you were to buy 21 now, for example, and that puts you to 0 coins, if you're someone who doesn't summon a lot, then you might not have built back up the coins to then when the anniversary units come back. Because it's going to be a while till they're available with coins. But for some people, it takes you quite a while to build up the coins to actually buy one of these characters. Whereas if you're sat with like, you're saving all your stones for the anniversary because you don't want to summon on this banner. You've got, 2,000 stones for the anniversary and you've got like 1,000 red coins, then you can afford to buy a unit now because you're going to be dropping all of those stones during the anniversary and getting a bunch more red coins back anyway. And then you have the time between the anniversary and when the unit comes back. So a lot of it does depend on like how regularly you actually get your, you get more coins. But yeah, I think she's a good option to go for. Her team's going to be super fun. I'm definitely going to do a video using her with some of these new guys because obviously the new Buu is on her 200% leader skill as well. So I think she's pretty decent, but yeah, we will see.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Like, I know for me right now, at like this very second, I currently have 2,500 red coins.
Wow.
It's because I'm saving it for, I didn't get Broly, so I'm saving it for one copy of him. And then obviously that will change if I end up pulling a copy when he returns, but I'm saving it to Rainbow Beast. When he comes back. So that's the reason why I'm saving them up and I haven't even touched them. So to be honest, like that's a really good point because I could probably buy 21 since I don't have her and probably be fine by the time that would come around because obviously I'm sure that I would be able to get that. Not to mention I still have some characters in my box that I could exchange for coins.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think it's just like it really depends on how much you summon on the game. Because, you know, if you literally only summon on the anniversary, then I'd say, yeah, just save them up. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just for me, I think those characters have more value than anything else that you could be picking up at the moment. But
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I said, it all comes down to your sort of coin economy, I guess. Like how many do you have and how quickly do you get them back? Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think she's definitely a worthwhile investment. Very good unit. Yeah. Super fun. But
it's not a bad choice for sure.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So then we have Philip Rodriguez with another $2 super chat. No more Super Saiyan 3s. We'll see what Dragon Ball Heroes has to say about that. Because, yeah, I mean, well, we know we're getting 2 Super Saiyan 3 EZAs this year, which is the AGL Adult Gotenks and the INT Gohanks Super Saiyan 3s. They're going to get their EZAs with Heroes this year. And, of course, you know, it does kind of feel like we are, as we've made the jokes about how many Gokus we got alone, but it does kind of feel like we're in the year of the Super Saiyan 3s, right? So maybe, just maybe, this could be the year where they finally give us Super Saiyan 3 Vegito and Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta for Heroes.
Oh, please, bro, please.
I want that so bad, but I know they've got some stuff like where they are in the, I guess, the story with like the characters we got from last year. I know we're still looking at potentially getting the end of the universe tree arc characters like the young Fu and the universe tree absorbed Goku or something like that. But man, if they drop Super Saiyan 3 Vegito and Gogeta in there, that's gonna be be peak.
It will be peak. I hope they do. I hope they just say screw it, do it anyway.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. So shout out to Philip. Shout out to Weeb of Class for the $15 super chat. He says, my current worldwide speculation theme is battle against the corrupted Saiyans. So part 1, Goku versus baby Vegeta. Part 2, Vegeta versus Goku Black. Okay.
That's kind of cool. Okay, so what you're saying is Dragon Ball Heroes when Kami Oren comes in.
Anyway.
It's an interesting point because they say if the Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Vegeta don't EZA during this celebration, then it will reinforce this. Because that's one of the biggest surprises, I think, that we kind of hadn't mentioned at all yet, that they are not EZA, or at least they could be later in the celebration, I guess. But yeah, I really thought that INT Goku and the Tech Majin Vegeta were going to be the main sort of Dokkan Fest EZAs for the celebration, but that is not the case. In terms of Golden Week, or not Golden Week, sorry, Worldwide Celebration, it's definitely an interesting one. I know we've talked about like Goku versus Baby quite a bit, being quite a good Dokkan Fest. I think we mentioned it at one point in the past. The whole Vegeta versus Rose, I think, is actually a cool one that we've never really seen them do that before, right? Because for whatever reason, they like to pair Rose with Vegito Blue.
That was the fight. Don't you remember?
Yeah. But the I really want a new version of that Vegeta. Like we have that INT Dokkan Fest one, the really old one,
ancient. Brother,
and he has the super attack where he like pummels Rose into the ground. Like I want that in like the current era quality of animations.
Oh yeah.
I don't see it being a dual Dokkan Fest with Goku Black just because we got the physical Rose this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something I would really like to see. And then Goku versus Baby. A lot of people had that pegged as a top pick for Golden Week, and obviously turned out to not be the case. So I definitely think we could see that. I mean, we could see a more GT sort of themed worldwide celebration, right? With Goku versus Baby to start, and then part 2. I don't know if they would do 2 Gokus though. I don't know, right? But then part 2, we could have like a new Super 17. Actually, do a good one. No, that'd be nice.
Your goat.
We'll see. But definitely be interesting to see what Golden Week could be. But I keep saying Golden Week because that's what we've been talking about for the last like a month or so. But to see what worldwide celebration will be, that's the big one we got to look forward to now in terms of dual Dokkan Fests, apart from Global and the anniversary. But yeah, shout out to Weeble Class. We also have Socrates with the $5 super chat. So this is an interesting one. I can put it to you guys. So we have, can we talk about the blue stone and the red stone options and the EZA speculations based on that? Because I did see, I think a lot of people made posts and stuff about it. Isn't Tech Ultimate Gohan on? Is it the blue stone one?
It is the blue stone, yeah.
So that's led a lot of people to speculate that he could be getting his EZA. Although, of course, I just noticed that the Goku and Vegeta that we talked about are on there as well. INT Gotenks is on there who has his. Tech Exchange Buu is going to be getting his. They're both on there. But there's quite a few units on here that don't have EZAs. But yeah, Gohan's introduction is certainly an interesting one. Now, when it comes to the Redstone, that's the big one, because now that Super EZAs are a thing, the Redstone kind of becomes a bit more interesting, right? Because that Super Saiyan 3 Goku's been an option on there for ages, and is, of course, now actually a much better unit. But with them throwing out Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks' Super EZA, who I think is actually also on here.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, any of these characters on that Redstone list, essentially, could end up being the next Super EZA unit. So it's certainly an interesting one. What do you guys think when it comes to the Redstone pick? Do you think people should be trying to get Goku or Gotenks if they don't have them rainbowed? Do you think people should be maybe picking one of the ones they don't have in case they're the next Super EZA? What do you guys think about the Redstone selections?
I think it's definitely just a case of like whatever your box needs realistically. Like it definitely depends on what type of player you are and what you have in your box. Because I know for me, like obviously I've been playing the game for a while, so I guess it's a little bit different for me, but like there's just some random like unfeatured character that I just don't happen to have rainbow, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, and select them, where obviously like a lot of these older characters I have already.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who like doesn't have everybody, I don't know, I'd say probably your safest option is going with one of the Super EZAs. I mean, if it's a character you really like, then obviously just pick them. But, I think that's probably the safest option. I mean, realistically, since they are doing the Super EZAs now, I guess it's pretty safe to assume that a lot of these really, really old characters will probably get one. So I don't think that even, like, banking on that is necessarily a bad choice. I will say, by the way, one funny thing before I pass it over here is, I don't know if you saw, but low-key, we might be getting, I don't know if they'll actually do any compensation, but we might actually be getting compensation for the Redstone being wrong, because they messed up Python's typing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they only showed the int one, didn't they? Whereas obviously on global he's STR. So
Yep. So low key, chat. If you're trying to use that Redstone, use it quick, because if we end up getting a second one or something like that, I don't know if they would really do something like that, but might as well, just for the meme.
Yeah, Raudo, any thoughts on the red and blue stone choices?
No, I agree with Theo. So some of the people in the chat on the stream yesterday, before we doing the summons, they were asking maybe it was good to get some of the characters that are possibly getting their Super EZAs with the Redstone. So characters like Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, since we haven't gotten that yet on global, but we know that's coming. Maybe related to the theme, but I don't see him here on the listing, is that Int Ultimate Gohan, who could possibly get the Super EZA.
Yep.
Yeah. But I don't see him on the list there. So, I mean, apart from getting characters who are getting their Super EZAs, maybe characters you never pulled in the game at all, since you maybe started the game at a later time frame. You don't have the character in particular. So, somehow I don't see AGL Super Vegito here. So I know that's a lot of people desire that character. Also,
I think he's
excited to see his Super EZA as well.
He's on the red one, isn't he?
I don't see him. Oh no, I do see him. I see him.
Yeah, so, his EZA could be his Super EZA could potentially.
He got demoted a couple years ago, didn't he? Because wasn't he on the Bluestone for a while, and then they were like, "Yeah, he's too old. Put him on the Redstone."
Yeah, all the 70%, all the old 70% ones are on there now. The old 100% ones, like the Kaioken Goku, Tech Golden Frieza, like those boys. Even so, actually, all the 120 leads are on there now as well. I think they're the newest ones that are on there, the 120 leads, and then we have the like physical Vegito Blue and AGL Rose. Could you imagine if they did their Super EZAs? How good like physical Vegito Blue could potentially be. But I think I agree. Dr. Pritch said in the chat, always go with a unit you don't have before dupes on someone else. I think with Super EZAs being a thing, when it comes to these Redstone options, I think that is probably a really good option. Like if there's one of these units especially, because that really does help you out, right? Singles it out. If there's one of these units with the Redstone you don't have, I would say that would be the one to go for, because you never know, they could be the next Super EZA. So definitely worth trying to pick up because these older units rarely come back as featured units on a banner. So definitely
the only time is like the EZA banners, right?
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. So definitely try and get them when you can. So, but yeah, shout out to Socrates for that one. Well, actually, we did, Jay, just to double check quickly, the Bluestone one. I didn't get a chance to look at the Bluestone ones that much. I mean, you've got Buhan. I mean, they did mention this in the producer letter, actually, when they announced their EZAs, but obviously Buhan and Vegito are on there. So if you don't have them, I mean, the Bluestones you do have to buy because they come with the most expensive stone packs. So I know not everyone's going to have them anyway, but physical Blue Evolution Vegeta and Kaioken Goku, they get their EZA during the anniversary and they become super good. So I think they're a worthwhile pick. All of the other units, I'd say, are a bit old, bit outdated unless they're going to potentially get an EZA. So I guess Gotenks and Tech Buu, obviously. But yeah, I think priority-wise, if you don't have them, Vegito, Buhan, or the Evolution Blue and Kaioken are probably the top picks for the Bluestone. But
I think it's cool that they did put them on there too. You know, all things considered, right, with the EZA, because obviously then, since they currently, I mean, I know it's like, it's a little bit of a stinky situation in terms of like, they're not on any current banners, but obviously if you're somebody who spends money or is willing to spend money, then obviously that is an opportunity to get them if you just didn't have them, which is really cool. And not to mention, right, I think honestly, like those type of packs in Dokkan, right, because obviously when you're buying stones and it's just stones, I mean, it's, you know, it's literally gambling, right? Like you're just gambling to see if you're going to get something. But you know, with that, at least you have some value, because even if your stones, you know, are just the most dog water pulls you've ever seen in your life, you know, at least you have, you know, like an actual unit that you just got from purchasing it. So I think that that's definitely something that I think if you're somebody who is willing to spend a little money, right? Obviously, if you're not free to play, but that would be a decent investment, I would think, because it has, you know, some actual value rather than you get something out of it rather than a chance, right?
Yeah.
You get something guaranteed. So definitely not a bad choice if you want to pick that up. It's cool that they do update that Bluestone, because I remember for a while it was almost like stuck in purgatory of like the same units every time, and it's like, man, I don't need any of these dweebs, bro. But you know, then they've been updating it almost like basically every single one they add new characters. So I'm glad that they've been doing that, because it's been giving some good options. So if you like spending money, it's a good option for you.
Yeah, and then someone said, in fact, it was Socrates as well in the chat, the fact that these units, especially the LRs with the Bluestone, they just come like fully awakened, which saves you a ton of like medal farming and stuff, which is pretty good. That is true. We didn't talk about the 30 ticket multi-summon.
I forgot about that.
Are all of the tickets available in part 1? That's the only thing I hadn't double checked, because
I don't think so.
I've got 15 currently, but I don't think I've finished all of the missions. Let me double check.
I know I haven't. I don't think they're all available.
No, there might be some in part 2.
But,
we get 8. We got 8 for the missions, and we got some in login. So that was what, 18 in total?
Yeah, I'm just double checking the missions, because I've got 15. I can get one more from that mission, one more from that one, and one more from that one. Yeah, so once I've done all the missions, I'll have 18. So yeah, they will be split between the 2 parts. So I guess that's the main reason we haven't really talked about it, the fact that you can't actually do the summon yet. But the banner is good. I mean, we're going to end up getting it for free. It's the 30 special summon. You get is it 2 guaranteed SSRs?
And what does the banner look like?
It's 2 featured SSRs.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
So what's featured on it? Because I actually
haven't looked at the Evil banner. 21, the TOP Android side banner unit, the Universe 2 guys. The physicals are mastered with the T and STR Mai, the STR Gohan, Tech Baby, Armand and Raisin, and Dies and Cacao. It's basically like the side banner units from a lot of the most recent Dokkan Fests are like the featured characters. STR Krillin and Physical TN from the last Golden Week. And yeah, that's it. So it's kind of like all the side banner units from some of the last big like Dokkan Fests. And then I'm assuming the banner is going to have LRs on it as well. But you do get, it's 2 featured units guaranteed as the last 2 units. But it's double rates. So yeah, definitely an interesting one.
In the producer's letter, they said that they will have the most recent release in the game.
Right.
So up to the 2024 one. So
yeah, so that means it probably has
gonna be there.
Yeah, it probably has.
Well, the banner's in the game. Can't you look at Dokkan info and just look at the unfeatured?
Actually, yeah, I think we can.
Let me see. I was gonna say, hold on, because I know you're literally looking at the banner. Hold on, let me look at Dokkan info real quick.
Yeah.
Banners. I'll look at the JP one, I guess, because technically that's would be more encompassing.
For global, we have until Ribrianne.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that she's on there is pretty good.
It's the same for JP, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise JP, like for JP to have the most recent yellow coin LR, it'd have to be Ginyu, which that would be crazy if he was on that banner. So
yeah, that would be crazy if he was on there.
That'd be awesome, but yeah, it's not something I would expect to see.
Yeah. So hopefully, y'all get lucky and get some LRs from that.
Well, yeah, that's the hope. So we'll obviously talk about that once we get the part 2 missions in the game, and obviously we'll all get to do our summons. Hopefully those will go well. But yeah, that is going to be it for this episode. That was all the shout outs, all the contributions. We appreciate all you guys for contributing, all you guys that came out to watch it live, everybody listening back later on the various other formats. This has been episode 35 of the Slot 1 Super Podcast for the big Golden Week beginning special episode. So I have been the Masked Ningen. Shout out to my fellow podcasters on this episode. We have our boy Theo, Dokkan Assets, and our guest for this week, filling in for Minato's Flash, our boy Raudokun. Make sure you go check him out. I'm going to get his channel thing up here and put the link in the chat. But yeah, it's been a good episode, good discussion with the boys. I hope you guys have been enjoying Golden Week, as it's not often we get to do an episode literally on the day that the celebrations kick off. So all the big hype has been going on today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, hope you guys continue to enjoy the celebration, and we will be back with Minato on deck next week. So that's going to be it from all of us here. Take it easy, and we will see you next time. Peace out.
Have a good one.